Day of Confinement is a game created by the evil gods of the universe to kill time. 20 years ago, this game known as Day of Confinement suddenly descended upon Earth, bringing huge disasters and opportunities to humanity. Humans on Earth are randomly selected and forced to participate in this game. This game is composed of dungeons with varying difficulties and rules. But what remains the same is that clearing a dungeon allows one to obtain powerful cards that can change their life. And the losers must pay the price with their own lives, remaining in the game forever. Everyone thinks they can defeat the boss, obtain S-rank cards, and become the final winner. But in the end, there was only one who survived the cruel game. He once believed that as long as he kept clearing stages, conquering dungeons, defeating bosses, and growing stronger, he could obtain everything he wanted. Only now did he finally understand that the ultimate ending of the game was to become a god. But this wasn't the ending he truly wanted. Therefore, he gave up on becoming one of the evil gods. A massive red creature appeared, its body a twisted mass of fleshy tendrils, with several glowing, eerie eyes staring from the darkness. Then it suddenly spoke to Luo Shi, calling him Earth's only clearer and the strongest player of the confinement game. It tempted him, saying that if he becomes one of them, he can gain eternal life, an endless lifespan. It told him that by joining them, he would obtain supreme divine power and dominate everything in the universe. It reminded him that on this planet, only the strongest player, him, the sole survivor, possesses this qualification. This creature asked if he was willing to give up the qualification to become a god. She answered that he was sure. He made the most rational decisions in every dungeon and became the sole game clearer. But along this path, he lost far too much. He lost his mother, his friends, and the person he loved. All of them lost their lives in this game. The red creature grew curious about what he truly wanted. He answered that he wanted a peaceful and boring daily life, a world where the people important to him were all living safely. He imagined his mother calling him to eat, his friend happily bringing him something, and his girlfriend making plans for their date. His heart ached as these memories resurfaced, because all of them were destroyed by these gods. The god then made him watch as they shattered the planet that carried all his memories. But what happens next is where everything changes. She took out a card. He wasn't affected by their boring threats. He calmly told the creature that he would be back. He knew that this S card, number 005, held a power that even this god could not control. He even remarked that those gods had actually created something impressive. But what exactly is this card capable of? Internally, he felt relieved that he had kept this card all this time. This was his one chance to make up for his regrets and let everyone live again. He used the S-rank time reversal card. It resets time itself. Everything returns to its original state, and all memories are erased, except for the user. A complete restart. A second chance to rewrite destiny. The god didn't expect that she had actually obtained this card. It found the situation amusing. Now it was even more interested in she. It began to look forward to the next time they would meet. The card's effect activated, and time reversal began. She warned the god to wash their necks clean and wait for his return, because the next time they meet, he will personally destroy them. This time, he won't let them take everything from him again. Time continued to rewind until he finally opened his eyes. He shot up, gasping for air, and after calming down, he realized he really came back. Seeing the hospital gown on his body, he quickly guessed that he was in Qingshan City Psychiatric Hospital. His mother walked in and gently asked if he had seen those bad things again. She told him not to be afraid. He froze the moment he saw her. In his previous life, after being dragged into the Day of Confinement game, he never saw his mother conscious again. Her mind had been trapped inside the game forever, while her real body became nothing more than a vegetable. The last time she spoke to him like this was years ago, so he hugged her tightly and told her how much he missed her. She became confused and flustered. She told him that she had always been there. Deep down, she even wondered if his condition had gotten worse again. The MC is Luo Shi, a patient in Qingshan City Psychiatric Hospital. Since childhood, he has suffered from severe dissociative identity disorder, commonly known as multiple personality schizophrenia. But what if none of it was just an illness? In fact, there really have been several people talking in his head. He knew it wasn't just random noise, but no one around him ever believed him. Because of this illness, he was stuck in a hospital bed, unable to work, unable to live normally, even unable to fall in love. But none of that matters to him now. A simple, peaceful life where everyone is alive. That's the life he had been dreaming of day and night. But He doesn't have much time left. He checked the time on his phone. It read 17:26. He clearly remembered that the descent of Day of Confinement happens on February 23rd at exactly 6 p.m. That leaves him with only 34 minutes of freedom, and every second counts. The game forcibly drags the player's consciousness into its world. Once pulled in, if you fail to clear it, you can never return. And if you die inside, your body in reality becomes a brain-dead vegetable. The very first time someone is pulled in, they are guaranteed to enter an E-rank starter dungeon. As for these starter dungeons, aside from a few tricky ones, most are actually easy, as long as you know the hidden rules. With his speed, he could finish writing everything in just 10 minutes. He needs to write it in a way his mother can understand. Only then can she remember the rules and increase her chances of surviving. And he has to prepare 2 copies, because Qing Zai will be arriving soon. This is the only way to save them. His mother told him it was fine to write, but he shouldn't push himself too hard. The doctor said he still needed rest. After that, she went downstairs to throw out the trash and gently closed the door behind her. She had been like this since he was a child. His father once wanted to abandon him, but his mother refused and insisted on getting him treated. After draining all their savings, his father still chose to leave, abandoning both him and his mother. From then on, his mother raised him alone. Even after exhausting days at work, she still took the time to teach him how to read. Back then, he didn't understand how much she endured. Only after losing everything did he realize that he had already been given everything from the very start. The door suddenly opened. This time, it was his friend Qing. He brought a bag of Xi's favorite tangerines. Xi greeted him, saying it had been a long time. Qing looked confused. To him, it hadn't been long at all. He had just visited 3 days ago. This buzzcut guy was Xi's only friend. When they were young, they lived in the same community. Back then, people who heard about his illness warned their kids to stay away from him. Some even bullied him just to prove how brave they were. He never understood why. That was how he met Qing. When he was being bullied, Qing stepped in and protected him. Then he simply declared that Xi was his friend. From that moment on, everything changed. But in Xi's previous life, Qing died miserably in a dungeon, sacrificing himself just to help him clear the game. Qing's last words were simple. He told Xi to keep living and win the game. So in this life, Xi swore he would never let that tragedy happen again. Qing asked what he was writing. He thought it was a novel and wanted to take a look. Xi told him it was a dungeon-clearing strategy guide. Qing was confused. He asked if the doctor really allowed him to play games. He got worried, since they said games could worsen his condition. Xi calmly replied that this was a game that had to be played. Qing suddenly lit up. He assumed it must be some kind of AAA masterpiece, so good that it had to be played no matter what anyone said. Xi confirmed it. He told him he was almost done writing and asked him to read it carefully. Then he instructed Qing to find his mother and make her read the other copy. Qing was surprised that even his mother would be playing. Xi told him not to worry about the details and just focus on reading it properly. He reminded him to memorize as much as possible, because at critical moments, this knowledge could save his life. Qing agreed, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Xi was acting strange that day. He left the room. To protect the people he cared about and to defeat the evil gods. Xi's first priority was clear. He had to become the strongest player again. That meant clearing every dungeon and collecting all 15 S-rank cards hidden across the game. In Day of Confinement, players can obtain different types of cards, from E rank all the way to S rank, by clearing dungeons or killing monsters. There are item cards, special cards, weapon cards, and attribute cards. Each one grants powerful abilities. But there are only 15 S-rank cards in total. Each one is unique, holding abilities that even the evil gods cannot control, just like the time reversal card he used. These cards are his only chance, his only opportunity. Only by gathering them can he gain the power to challenge the gods themselves. It was already 1758-59. Only 1 minute remained before the descent of Day of Confinement. This peaceful, ordinary life was about to end again. Suddenly, a message appeared. He had been selected as part of the first batch of players. The dungeon began loading, and his soul was forcefully extracted. Then, memories of the scenario flooded into his mind. This time, Xi made a vow. He would protect everything he holds dear, clear every dungeon, and rise to the top once again. And when that time comes, he will personally slaughter those evil gods who treated their world like a game. He opened his eyes to the world of Day of Confinement. The system welcomed him and wished him a pleasant game. The system identified player Luo Xi. The E-rank initial game dungeon Slaughter Company scenario had been created. The player's soul loading was complete. The system attempted to delete his real memories and prepared to implant the scenario memories. But the system encountered an error. The deletion of Xi's real memories failed. The dungeon boss was generated, and Xi was granted permission to freely explore the dungeon. The system wished him a pleasant game. Just as he expected, everything was exactly the same as his past life. The Day of Confinement dungeon felt almost identical to the real world. In rookie dungeons, players have their real memories erased, making them believe this world is reality. But for some reason, Xi's memories remained intact. Since everything matched his previous life, he already knew what was about to happen. Right now, he was inside the Day of Confinement game world, an E-rank initial dungeon called Slaughter Company. It looked like a normal office. People were sitting at desks, working like it was just another day. But that illusion won't last long. Slaughter Company is considered a low-level E-rank dungeon. But to clear it, he needs to kill 3 boss-level monsters. Each boss has different abilities, and the difficulty rises with each one. For beginners, this dungeon is actually deadly. He opened his character attribute panel. It displayed his name, Luo Shi, level 0, race, human. All other details, basic attributes, skills, and items were locked. Even the global player kill contribution ranking was inaccessible. The only thing unusual was an unidentifiable blessing. He quickly realized his current state. Right now, he was just a complete rookie. With his current strength, defeating all 3 bosses was impossible. First, he needed to activate his attributes. He wondered about the blessing. There was a high chance it was connected to his retained memories from his past life. But there was no time to dwell on that. His priority was clear: gain enough power to defeat the first boss. He started thinking of the fastest way to break this deadlock. Then something clicked. Inside this dungeon, there is a hidden side mission. If he can obtain attribute cards from it and plan carefully, clearing the dungeon becomes much easier. The dungeon officially starts at 11 p.m. He only had 10 minutes left, just enough time to flip the entire game in his favor. There was one more issue keeping him there. It was the voice he heard during his rebirth. That same voice had echoed in his head since he was young, like an auditory hallucination. But this time, he could understand it much more clearly. This time, the voice was talking about saving Earth and defeating the evil gods. It told him that to win, he had to join forces with them. Only then would they stand a chance. It even suggested that if they could retain memories after the next reset, then next time, they could eliminate the gods together. The voice believed that she, who had returned to the past, could influence them, even if they had no memories right now. But who are they? He tried to figure out what it meant. Was it saying that by collecting the 15 S-rank cards, he could also gain their power? He headed to the restroom, but for now, he pushed those thoughts aside. He had arrived at his target location. His first goal was clear: trigger the hidden side mission and secure the reward treasure chest. The system notified him that he had reached a special coordinate location, and the hidden side mission was activated. The mission was called The Secret Hidden in the Men's Toilet Stall. Now that the prompt had appeared, it was time to complete the objective. A creature suddenly appeared. It had glowing red eyes, short horns, and a round beast-like face. But instead of being terrifying, it looked more confused and annoyed. The toilet stall creaked open, identifying the creature as the urban legend ghost, Coward. This small but ferocious creature stood guard over a treasure chest. She glared at it and coldly told it to get lost, unless it wanted its head twisted off. The creature froze. Then it panicked and ran away. Just like that, he defeated the urban legend ghost, Coward, and claimed ownership of the treasure chest. Despite its role as a guardian, it was actually extremely weak. As long as someone intimidated it, it would flee without a fight. The treasure chest could contain either a reward or something far worse. Unfortunately, it required a key to open, but she didn't hesitate. He simply stomped on it. Now, the mysterious treasure chest was damaged. Many people get misled by the need for a key and miss this reward entirely. But as long as you let go of fear and overthinking, this mission is actually easy, even for beginners. Inside, he found exactly what he was looking for. The treasure chest contained 3 items: an E-rank stamina card, an E-rank agility card, and an E-rank strength card. Now he had the 3 basic attribute cards. With these, he could finally activate his player attributes. He used all 3 cards. His stamina, agility, and strength immediately increased. Agility increased to level 1, with a cap of level 5. The same applied to stamina and strength. The boost wasn't overwhelming, but it was clear and real. And, for the current Shi, it was already enough to face the 3 bosses. When he opened the system panel again, his basic attributes were finally visible. Once a player uses attribute cards and activates their panel, they officially become a player. Even at level 1, they are already beyond what normal humans can handle. Out of nowhere, he threw a punch at the wall. A dent formed instantly. With these stats and his past life combat experience, clearing this dungeon was now relatively easy. But he knew this was nowhere near enough. If he wanted to defeat those gods and protect everything this time, he had to use every advantage he could get, including the power behind that mysterious voice in his head. So he decided to investigate the unidentifiable blessing first. He called out, asking if the one who gave him the blessing was the same entity behind the voices. He demanded an answer. Even though he knew there was almost no chance they would respond. Suddenly, a voice answered. It told him that it depends on him. A massive shadow appeared. His guard instantly went up. He scanned his surroundings, and then he saw them. Silhouettes, surrounding him from all sides. They told him they had been watching him all along. He asked who they were and why they helped him. They didn't give a direct answer. Instead, they told him if he wants their help, he has to prove his value first. They told him to go fight. Time was almost up. Shi didn't hesitate. If gaining their power meant a better chance at defeating the gods, then he would prove himself. The system announced that the countdown was about to end. The boss had been generated and conquest mode was activated. All players were welcomed to the Day of Confinement world. The current dungeon was an E-rank challenge. The boss was descending and players were advised to prepare. But there was a catch. Once the countdown ends, any player who leaves their workstation will be judged as having failed the conquest. The countdown had already started. There's only 48 seconds left on the timer. Less than a minute remained. But with his agility boost, Ji knew he could make it. He sprinted at full speed. As long as he reached the gate in time, he would survive. Miss it, and it's instant death. The timer dropped to 18 seconds. Some thugs started complaining about the countdown. The one with the mohawk refused to play along. The bald, chubby thug beside him even threatened to smash everything if they weren't released. She ran straight past them, just as expected. No matter when, there are always idiots who fail to understand the situation. The timer hit 0. She made it inside safely. Meanwhile, the ones who stepped outside, their heads exploded. Blood splattered across the floor and windows. Everyone froze in shock. Fear spread instantly as they realized this game is real. In this place, if you don't follow the rules, you die. The gate slammed shut behind them, and the atmosphere instantly changed. Something worse was coming. A warning message appeared. The boss of this level was about to spawn. Players were advised to find weapons nearby and prepare to face the E-rank boss. Cleaner Squad. People couldn't accept it. They shouted, demanded answers, begged to be let out. Then, several silhouettes appeared, laughing. The first boss had arrived. To clear this dungeon, all bosses must be defeated. The cleaners began their work. At the front was the cleaning captain, level 2, an E-rank boss. It had level 1 stamina, level 2 agility, and level 4 strength. Its skill boost was level 2. It wielded a steel broom and a sharp dustpan, both E-rank weapons. Its skill, cleaning specialization, increases its strength by 1 level when using cleaning tools. Behind it were the general cleaners, level 1 E-rank monsters. Each had level 1 stamina, agility, and strength. They carried steel brooms as weapons, but had no special skills. And this is just the first boss. One person asked what kind of monsters these were, and what E-rank even meant. A muscular man stepped forward and told everyone not to be afraid. He confidently said he would take them down with his bare hands. His tone was full of arrogance. She immediately warned him not to go. He told him these things cannot be judged by common sense, and advised him not to act recklessly. Even if those monsters were only level 1, as long as their attributes were above 0, they were already beyond what a normal human could handle. Thinking he could defeat a boss with brute force alone was pure fantasy. The man snapped back at him, telling him to shut up, especially since she was the last one who barely made it inside earlier. He believed she only survived because of luck, and that he had no right to give advice. This muscular guy had played plenty of games before. He noticed that the leaderboard was based on global kill contribution points, not just kills, and it was still locked. In his mind, as long as he landed the first hit, he could secure a high rank. He also believed that a game this dangerous must come with huge rewards. He was already imagining becoming a billionaire after returning to reality. Wealth, luxury, women, mansions, everything waiting for him. So he charged in. To him, this monster was just a stepping stone. But in the next instant, the cleaning captain swung, and his head was cut clean off. It rolled across the floor. Everyone froze in horror. Then chaos broke out. The cleaning squad began their work. People ran in panic, screaming, trying to escape. But there was nowhere to run. They begged to be released, but it was already too late. Most of them had already been hit. She moved. He stepped in and punched a general cleaner, declaring that its opponent was now him. Had increases strength by 1 if it's level 5 or below. The cleaner was sent flying and slammed into the wall. She shouted to the others that if they wanted to survive, there was only one way: kill the boss. If he wanted to grow stronger and obtain S-rank cards to defeat the gods, then killing these low-level bosses was a necessary step. The others were stunned. Someone was actually fighting back. And not just that, he was winning. They couldn't believe it. The muscular guy had been killed instantly, yet this person was standing his ground. But then, the monster was still moving, even after that hit. She didn't hesitate. He slammed it into the ground with another punch, and this time, its body began to fade. It was dead. The system only gives a reward notification once a monster is truly dead. If there's no notification, it means the job isn't finished, so it's always safer to finish it off completely. From this kill, she obtained a steel broom, an E-rank weapon that increases strength by +1. The system also displayed that he killed a level 1 cleaning worker and received a strength card, an E-rank card that increases strength by 1 if it's level 5 or below. The people were stunned. He had just killed the monster like it was nothing. They started questioning who he was, and how he could be even stronger than the muscular guy. Low-level monsters can drop 1 to 3 cards: strength, agility, or stamina. Right now, she desperately needed stats, so any card he got was valuable. He used the card, raising his strength to level 2. Another general cleaner approached him. It was an E-rank monster with level 1 strength. In the world of Day of Confinement, once a player's stats are activated, even a 1-level difference creates a huge gap. She now had level 2 strength, plus an additional +1 from his weapon. The monster attacked, but it stood no chance. She swung his steel broom and killed it instantly. This time, he received another strength card, an E-rank card that increases strength by 1 if it's level 5 or below. With that, his strength reached level 3. Suddenly, he sensed danger. Another general cleaner rushed at him. She reacted instantly and cut its head off. An attack like that was far too slow. After killing it, he obtained an agility card, an E-rank card that increases agility by 1 if it's level 5 or below. Agility was crucial for survival. This was exactly what he needed. At that moment, the cleaning captain and the remaining cleaner locked onto him, calling him hateful trash. The game has an aggro system. The more monsters a player kills, the more likely they are to be targeted. The stronger you perform, the more dangerous it becomes. The cleaning captain's skill, Cleaning Mastery, gives it an additional 2 levels of strength. Charging in head-on against multiple enemies right now would be reckless. He needed to weaken them first, take them down one by one. They faced off. Then she moved. He started running while shouting to the others. If they didn't want to die, they should throw objects at the monsters to slow them down. That would create openings for him to finish them off. Since he was holding all the aggro, the others were relatively safe. All they had to do was support him from a distance. At the same time, he was testing them. If any of them showed potential, he could bring them along for future dungeons. The more people who understand how to clear stages, the more lives can be saved. But the others hesitated. If they acted, they might draw the monster's attention, and once targeted, they would die. So they stood there, unsure, watching Shi fight alone, believing he might be able to handle everything by himself. Shi noticed that everyone was frozen in fear. Not a single one of them dared to move. He quickly realized, if he waited for them, nothing would happen. He would have to create his own opening. The cleaning captain suddenly lunged at him, but right before it reached him, a keyboard slammed into its face. She paused for a split second. Someone actually acted. It was a nerdy-looking guy. The others immediately got angry at him for interfering, but he snapped back, saying that she was fighting for all of them. If they helped him, they could all survive. For once, someone understood the situation. One man grabbed him by the collar and argued back, saying there was no way people like them could fight those monsters. At that moment, the cleaning captain spoke. It declared that trash should be cleaned. Now that they had its attention, they ran. The nerdy guy shouted to Shi that he had already drawn the aggro, so he should take the chance. Shi didn't hesitate. He dashed forward and cut down 2 general cleaners in one motion. With his current stats, the difference was overwhelming. The cleaning workers couldn't even resist. They were one-shotted. Now, only the boss remained. From the defeated cleaners, he obtained 2 cards, an E-rank agility card and an E-rank strength card. The cleaning captain raised its weapon, about to strike the nerdy guy. It repeated that trash must be cleaned. The man screamed for help. Then, Ji appeared behind it. He calmly said that the real trash was standing right here. And in the next instant, he cut off its head. The system immediately announced his victory over the stage boss. Then the player contribution rankings appeared. Ji stood at rank 1, with 700 points. Ji felt a surge of anticipation. The player who ranks first receives S-rank card number 0001. In his previous life, he never obtained this card, and every S-rank card holds terrifying power. So, this time, he wanted to see just how strong number 0001 really is. Looking at the rankings, it was clear that most players hadn't unlocked any skills yet, but Shi knew staying at first place wouldn't be easy. After all, this ranking includes every player across the world who was pulled into the initial stage. The day of confinement began everywhere at the exact same time. In his previous life, even though he survived until the very end, there were already many powerful players right from the start. Each of them had unique abilities that others couldn't replicate. Even now, after being reborn, he couldn't afford to underestimate them. Every time a player clears a stage, rewards are distributed based on ranking. From the next stages onward, he would need to clear them efficiently, maximizing his points and firmly securing first place. If he wanted to defeat the evil gods, he needed power far beyond what he had in his previous life. And for that, he had to obtain S-rank card number 001. He had just defeated the first phase boss of Slaughter Company, the cleaning captain. As a reward, he obtained 1 E-rank stamina card, 2 E-rank agility cards, and special cards like E-rank cleaning and E-rank iron embryo. He was especially glad to see the iron embryo. That alone made this run incredibly lucky. This card allows the user to create an E-rank weapon that matches their aura. Iron Embryo is an E-rank special card. When activated, it forges a personalized iron weapon based on the user's aura, with a chance of becoming something even more special. Among all weapons, swords are considered the highest tier, known as the Emperor of 100 weapons, or even the King of 100 weapons. If luck is on his side, this could change everything. He glanced at the nerdy guy behind him. At first glance, he didn't look brave at all, but at the critical moment, he still chose to act. Being able to read the situation and step up anyway, that's what makes a true player. If trained properly, this guy could help save even more people. She thanked him for drawing the boss's attention earlier. The nerdy guy replied that only she could actually kill those monsters. If she had gone down, everyone would have died. So in the end, he was just helping himself. She smiled slightly and praised his judgment. Then he handed him 3 cards, stamina, agility, and cleaning. The first 2 would awaken his player attributes, while the cleaning card could remove negative effects during mental stress. The guy hesitated. He felt that she needed those cards more, but she insisted. Without that distraction earlier, things could have gone badly. Those rewards were earned. He then showed him how to use them. The second round was about to begin, so she needed to increase his stats quickly. He used another card on himself. The system updated immediately. His strength and agility rose to level 4, while his stamina remained at level 1. Watching this, the nerdy guy finally understood how it worked. For the first time, he felt the effect of raising his stats. His body suddenly felt lighter, faster. Then he checked his own status panel. His name was Shu Wen, level 0, with 70 out of 100 experience. His stamina and agility were both at level 1. His skills and items were still locked, and he hadn't obtained any equipment yet. He was surprised to see that he had gained experience, even though he hadn't killed a single monster. She explained that it was because he had attacked the boss. When she finished it off, Wen still received shared experience. On top of that, leveling up gives a small boost to all stats, though not as much as attribute cards. Wen then asked what level she was now. She replied that he was level 4. Hearing that, Wen couldn't hide his excitement. That level was already considered very high. She's current stats were level 4 with 20 out of 500 experience. His strength and agility were both level 4, while his stamina remained at level 1. His skills and items were still locked, and he hadn't obtained any item cards. Back in his previous life, he had never received a random card like this. So now, he was curious what kind of weapon his aura would create. The orb in his hand began to shift. Slowly, it took form. A blue vein sword appeared, a sword-type weapon, growth type, final grade, unknown, current grade, E. Its exclusive skill was Sky-Rending Slash. Each attack builds blood energy inside the blade. Once all nodes turn completely red, it can unleash a powerful sword wave. Its special trait, every 10 levels, it grants a random new skill. The weapon is permanently bound to the wielder through a soul brand, meaning it cannot be lost, stolen, traded, or dropped even after death. She was satisfied. A growth-type sword was already a great pull, and the fact that it came with a skill made it extremely rare. Even if it was only E rank now, once fully charged, it could rival C rank combat power. Wen stared at him in disbelief. Calling something like that not bad made him realize that she was on a completely different level. In his previous life, she wielded an S-rank weapon, the Flame Dragon Shadow. Compared to that, this sword still had a long way to go, but since it could evolve, its future potential was limitless. The system announced that all players had cleared the first stage. Cleaning crew. Immediately after the second stage was revealed, staff cafeteria. All players were instructed to head to the second floor and enter the cafeteria. Anyone who failed to arrive before the countdown ended would be eliminated. The timer started at 5 minutes. Everything was exactly the same as his previous life. Back then, he was just a helpless beginner. Nothing like who he was now. She asked Wen if he wanted to come with him. Wen hesitated for a moment, asking if he really could. She needed people like him, those who could think. It would help him clear stages faster and support his plans later on. Wen had already proven he qualified. Wen agreed without hesitation. He said he was willing to follow him. She nodded and brought him along. Meanwhile, the others started speaking up. Some begged to join. Some rich individuals even offered money. Others said they would do anything, as long as she would take them with him. Then a group of bullies blocked his path. They argued that since she had the power to save people, he should take everyone along. They accused him of being selfish, even saying he treated their lives as worthless. Xi's expression turned cold. He told them that if they kept blocking his way, he wouldn't mind treating them like monsters too. The group immediately backed off. The others could only stare. The look in his eyes was enough to silence everyone. Wen quietly asked if he really wasn't going to bring them. Xi replied that by killing the boss, he had already saved them, but they lacked the courage to act. Bringing them along would only slow him down later. He wasn't here to save everyone. He wasn't that kind of hero. If anything, he was selfish. All he wanted was to save the people he cared about. Wen understood. He promised that he would do his best and never become a burden. Xi gave him a quick briefing. The next boss would be the chef. There would likely be mental corruption involved. If he couldn't endure it, he should immediately use the cleaning card. Wen imagined it as some kind of debuff skill. They arrived at the staff cafeteria and were instructed to take a seat to begin the second phase. Wen noticed the smell. It was surprisingly good. For a moment, he thought maybe there wasn't any danger yet. Then, a black shadow surrounded by red mist appeared. It calmly announced, 1 minute remaining. Wen felt a chill run down his spine. She explained that those figures were executioners, the ones who deal with latecomers. Wen quickly connected it to what happened earlier when players who failed to enter the office on time had their heads blown off. She chose a seat. They were the first to arrive. Wen found it strange. The distance between the office and the cafeteria wasn't far at all, so there was no reason for people to be late. She calmly explained that those who make the right decision quickly will always make it in time. But most people hesitate. They waste precious seconds worrying about things that don't matter. Only at the very last moment do they finally choose the correct option they were afraid to face. 52 seconds remained. Just as she predicted, people started rushing in. Regret was written all over their faces. They had wasted time upstairs, debating whether to move or not. One of them shouted to stop thinking and just go inside, or they die. But for some, it was already too late. And they knew it. 10 seconds left. Those who made it in felt a wave of relief. They scrambled to find seats. The countdown ended. The last man barely made it inside. He was breathing heavily, completely exhausted. He thought he was safe as long as he wasn't outside, but in the next instant, the executioner moved and cut him down. Time was up. He didn't make it. Everyone froze. They thought that thing was the boss of this stage. The realization hit them hard. If they hadn't hesitated earlier, that wouldn't have happened. Then, the real boss appeared. The chef. A black humanoid figure surrounded by red mist, pushing a cart with a massive pot. It began serving the food. Each person received a portion. The meal was horrifying, a sickly green substance, with shapes that looked like eyeballs and fingers. Wen felt his stomach turn. He realized those were the monsters from earlier. A system effect activated. Anyone who looked directly at the meal received a mental corruption debuff. Strength and agility dropped by 20% and spirit dropped by 30%. Wen was shocked. The debuff was real, 3 stats dropping at once. The situation had just become far more dangerous, but it didn't stop there. The system announced that all players must consume their meal. Wasting food would result in punishment from the chef. Leaving it untouched would continuously reduce spirit by 10% per minute. If spirit reached 0, the player would mentally collapse and be eliminated. They had 7 minutes. Wen was stuck. If they waste it, they die. If they don't eat, they still die. There was no real choice. But how were they supposed to swallow something like that? Compared to this, the first stage felt easy. He started to feel despair creeping in. She remained calm. He told Wen that even though the second stage was more dangerous, there was still a way to clear it, and he already knew how. Wen felt relieved hearing that she already had a plan to clear the stage. He told him that if there was anything he could do, he was ready. She simply told him to stay put and wait. He also reminded him that if his spirit dropped too low, he should use the cleaning card to remove the debuff and stay conscious. And when the time comes, he would call him. The system notified that mental pollution was still active, and his spirit was continuously decreasing. His current spirit was at 70%, and he had 6 minutes and 59 seconds before total collapse. Wen complained that just looking at the food was already draining his strength. A woman at the nearby table struggled not to throw up. She panicked, realizing they only had 7 minutes. If they didn't eat, they would lose their minds. The man across from her questioned if they really had to eat something like that. She understood the situation clearly. With their attributes reduced by mental pollution, fighting the 4 chef monsters head-on was basically impossible. The normal way to clear this stage was simple. Eat the meal, lower the chef's guard, then have everyone team up and kill them together. It was the safest method, but it only gave the lowest rewards. Then something unexpected happened. She received an unknown blessing, becoming immune to mental pollution. His spirit instantly returned to 100%. The voice spoke again, saying this was only a small favor. If he wanted their true help, he needed to prove his value. She was stunned. Mental interference no longer had any effect on him. That changed everything. Now, he could use the high difficulty hidden rules from his previous life to clear the stage. If he succeeded, he wouldn't just survive. He would secure a high score, maintain first place, and obtain far greater rewards. One man suddenly snapped. He shouted that he would never eat that thing, even if it killed him, and threw his plate away. Wen wondered if that man had already mentally collapsed. She confirmed it. A person's spirit is far more fragile than what the stats suggest. If their mental endurance is too weak, they cannot resist the effects of mental pollution. If no one clears the stage, everyone there will end up like that. The man in the background stomped on his plate, repeatedly saying that he wouldn't eat it. Suddenly, he was struck on the head. A chef hit him with a spiked bat and told him that if he refused to eat, then he should just die. The man still insisted that he wouldn't eat. The chef grabbed his head and dragged him toward the kitchen. The others were horrified by what they saw. They realized that if they didn't eat, that would be their fate. A woman argued that no one could stomach something like that. There were only 6 minutes left. One man wondered if all of them would end up the same way. The system announced that no player had eaten the meal, resulting in a minus 10% penalty. The current remaining spirit of all players dropped to 60%, and they were urged to eat as soon as possible. The hidden high-score clearing condition for this stage was to break the safe routine method. His plan was to activate high difficulty and clear it successfully. He stood up, ready to execute it. He threw the plate away and declared that he wouldn't eat it. To activate the first hidden rule, he needed to trigger high difficulty mode and draw the attention of a monster chef. The system warned him that he had attracted the attention of a chef. His risk of death had increased to 80%. The chef approached and ordered him to sit down. If he refused to eat, it would force his head into the bucket. She moved to step 2 of his plan, to activate the hatred system and kill one monster chef. He moved instantly and swung his blade. The head dropped. The system notified that he had killed the serving chef level 3 and obtained 2 E-rank attribute cards, strength and stamina. With that, the second stage of Slaughter Company had officially entered combat. After using the cards, his strength rose to level 5, and his stamina increased to level 2. The system issued 2 warnings. First, killing a chef caused the remaining 3 chefs' hatred toward him to reach 100%. Second, he had triggered the hidden rule strike first. All chefs would now ignore other players and focus entirely on killing him. In exchange, the points and rewards from monsters he kills increased by 10%. This was the high difficulty hidden clearing rule of the second stage, strike first. The fish killing chef level 3, fruit platter chef level 3, and vegetable cutting chef level 3 all entered an enraged state. Their killing intent surged. She knew what this meant. By abandoning the normal strategy and striking first, he had drawn all aggro onto himself, making him the sole target of every monster in the room. This massively increased his chances of dying. To survive, and still have strength left for the real boss, he needed to avoid being surrounded or taking unnecessary damage. He had to follow his plan and prepare. Now that all monsters were locked onto him, there was no need for bait anymore. He ran. But unexpectedly, one of them caught up. The chef sneered, saying he couldn't escape, and that he'd be cut into pieces. She blocked the butcher's knife with his sword. The chef was surprised. He actually stopped the attack. She smirked and challenged it, asking if it could keep up with his next move. Then he unleashed rapid cuts at E-rank speed. Everything was going exactly as planned. The monster had taken the bait. To defeat the boss, his current strength still wasn't enough, so he used the smaller enemies to charge up his blue vein sword. Their blades clashed. The monster was shocked that she could keep up with its speed. Among all the chefs, it was the fastest, but it still believed she would lose. After all, he was locked in combat, and the other chefs were already closing in from behind. They surrounded him. She shifted momentum. With a powerful swing, he knocked the chef's blade away. The monster was stunned. That strength was higher than expected. It couldn't understand it. Based on its judgment, she should have been equal to it. But what it didn't know, she had already activated the blue vein sword's exclusive skill, Sky-Splitting Slash. And he quietly thanked the monster for helping him charge it up. The monster realized it was already doomed. She had always had the strength, he just used it to charge his skill. By the time it figured it out, the other chefs were already closing in on she. The monster shouted at them to run. It warned them that this was a trap. But it was too late. She struck first, and in the next sequence of attacks, he eliminated all: the fish-killing chef, the fruit-platter chef, and the vegetable-cutting chef. He calmly noted that flaws visible to the naked eye are often traps prepared in advance. From the kills, he obtained +3 stamina cards and +3 agility cards, all E rank. When finally relaxed, he realized that everything she had done so far was part of a plan from the very beginning. The system issued a warning: a player had successfully triggered the strike first hidden rule. As a result, the stage boss, the head chef, entered a fully enraged state. Its rage value increased by 100%, and all attributes were boosted by 1 level. Wen was stunned. He didn't even know something like a hidden rule existed. The door creaked open. She already knew what was coming. The ground began to tremble. Everyone felt it. Fear spread instantly. If she couldn't defeat this monster, they would all die. This was the final phase of the hidden rule, forcing the boss to appear early while increasing the difficulty. But in return, it also raised the rewards and points. Because all conditions of strike first were fulfilled, the boss's difficulty increased significantly. At the same time, the rewards and points for defeating it were boosted by 30%. She didn't hesitate. He needed the rewards. Only by securing higher rankings and greater power could he achieve his goal. The head chef grabbed the door and cracked it open. It demanded to know who had killed its subordinates. The head chef was an E-rank boss at level 5. In its enraged state, all attributes were increased by 1 level. Its base stats were stamina level 6, strength level 8, and agility level 3. Its skill, bone-splitting tendon severing, further enhanced its strength. Wen stared at it in fear. He wondered, could she really win? She didn't answer. He used every attribute card he had to defeat a boss strengthened by hidden rules. Holding back was not an option. She's attributes were now all at level 5. E-rank attribute cards can only raise stats up to level 5. That meant the 2 E-rank agility cards he still had were now useless to him. So he tossed them to Wen and told him to use them immediately. Wen activated the cards. His agility rose to level 3, while his stamina remained at level 1. The others who saw this instantly regretted their earlier hesitation. If they had acted sooner, they could have gained attribute cards too. Some began wondering what exactly those cards could do, and whether they increased their chances of survival. The head chef roared again. demanding to know who killed its subordinates. The sheer force of its voice made people tremble. Just hearing it made resistance feel impossible. They couldn't even imagine how someone could fight something like that. But Wen noticed something. Even under that pressure, he wasn't affected. The attribute cards had strengthened him enough to resist the fear. The head chef lost patience. It threatened to chop off everyone's heads if no one answered. Panic spread. People started running. Then, someone stepped forward. It was she. He blocked the head chef's blade. The boss was momentarily stunned. She calmly admitted it. He was the one who killed them. The head chef's expression twisted with rage. It declared that this ingredient would suffer the most painful death. It would keep his head intact, so he could watch everyone else die first. She didn't flinch. He replied that before any of that happens, he would cut off its head. The head chef laughed and told him to prove it. Their clash began. The fight exploded instantly. Blades collided, force meeting force. The entire area shook from the impact. When the dust settled, Wen frantically searched for Shi. Deep down, he thought the outcome was obvious. Against level 8 strength, no one could survive a direct clash. Then, Shi spoke. He was fine. He even joked that it had been a while since someone called him boss. Back in his previous life, during the day of confinement, he had also formed a team. Those people trusted him and willingly called him their leader. But in the end, every single one of them died. Only he survived. And for the longest time, he couldn't understand why. The head chef charged again, calling him a short ingredient, ready to cut him down. Back then, Shi didn't understand, but now, he finally did. The blade came down. Shi parried it. The head chef froze for a moment. Shi's speed had suddenly increased. Then it realized he had been holding back all along. Shi was thinking that the reason he survived until the very end was because he never hesitated. Because compared to everyone else, he wanted to win more than anyone. So he struck and cut down the head chef. People who truly want to win will do whatever it takes. But after reaching the end once, Shi realized something. Winning alone wasn't enough. After winning, what he truly wanted was to protect everyone, to protect the life he cherished, to return to a normal world. The system confirmed it. He had defeated the Stage 2 boss of Slaughter Company, the head chef. Rewards were now available. Since he activated the hidden rule, Strike First, all rewards were increased by 30%. He received E-rank strength, stamina, and agility cards. These attribute cards could now raise stats up to level 10, increasing each by 1 level. He also obtained a special E-rank card, Memory, which could restore real memories. On top of that, he gained a special bonus reward, Head Chef Surprise Buff. Once activated, it randomly boosts one attribute by 3 levels for 10 minutes. If he hadn't triggered the hidden rule, he would have only received the memory card. The rest were bonus rewards. Even his contribution points had increased significantly. He checked the rankings. Shi remained in first place with 1,700 contribution points. Han Sun-hai followed in second with 300. Liu Yan was third with 260. Yunyan came fourth with 220, and beyond them, no one else came close. Just like in his previous life, they were all there. Even though their points were far behind his, these were not ordinary players. They were prodigies. In the future, they would become the backbone of humanity's resistance against Day of Confinement. But she knew the truth. The evil gods would never allow players to grow unchecked. They would create increasingly brutal stages. In his previous life, it was one of those vicious dungeons that wiped out most of humanity's strongest players. This time, when that stage appears, he will take that S-rank card meant to counter it. And he looked forward to meeting them again, because to him, they were his former rivals. The system announced that Stage 2, Staff Cafeteria, had been cleared. The final stage was revealed. Rush out of the company. All players were instructed to head to the ground floor lobby immediately. Anyone who failed to arrive before the countdown ended would be eliminated. The hardest stage was about to begin. She turned to Wen and told him they were leaving. Wen felt nervous, but after a moment, he spoke. He said he had something to give Shi, and slowly, he reached out his hand. She was confused why Wen was handing him tissues. Wen said it wasn't much. He just found them in the dining area earlier and thought Shi could at least wipe his face. He added that he felt useless. If he could just do a little more, maybe Shi wouldn't have to carry everything alone. Shi paused for a moment. Then he realized that most people in this world are still kind. He told Wen that he was already very useful. Wen was visibly moved. Meanwhile, soldier-like monsters began gathering, as if preparing for their arrival. The captain gave an order. He told everyone to eat them all. After the countdown ends, players who have not arrived at the lobby will be judged as failed. Countdown is at 4:36. Wen asked if he relied on agility to defeat the head chef. He wondered if having higher attribute levels meant a person could easily overpower monsters. She explained that it depends on the individual's base ability. Humans are different. Some are naturally athletic, while others are more intellectual. Wen felt discouraged. He realized that someone like him, even with agility level 5, might still struggle to dodge attacks. Then he looked at Shi with admiration. He assumed Shi must have had a background like special forces or something similar. They arrived at the location. Shi told Wen to stay there and wait for the other players. He instructed him to warn everyone not to think about running away. He then revealed the most important hidden rule of the next stage. If they try to run, they will automatically be judged as failed. Even if the main gate opens, escape is impossible. Wen became worried. He asked if Shi was really going alone to deal with the next wave of monsters. Those enemies sounded far too dangerous. Wen promised that he would pass on the hidden rule. Deep down, he was moved. Even someone like him was being trusted. To him, Shi felt both strong and kind. In reality, having teammates in the next stage would activate another hidden rule, making the conquest easier. There were other hidden conditions as well, but with his current level, clearing it alone was impossible. To be safe, he needed to find the player with the highest combat power in this dungeon. The third stage of Slaughter Company requires fighting 10 level 5 security guards, along with a level 7 security captain in the lobby. Their strength far exceeds the enemies from the second stage. From his past experience, teamwork was the only way to clear this stage. Fighting alone would only lead to being surrounded and killed. As he walked down the stairs, someone called out to him. Shi smiled. This was exactly the person he was looking for. In his previous life, this man was extremely famous. The 3-star stages of Slaughter Company are incredibly difficult. Back then, success was not just about understanding hidden rules. It was also because of this man, who carried the team as its core fighter. His name is Xu Zhengyang. In Shi's previous life, he stood out even more than Shi himself. Zhengyang confirmed that Shi was the one who told that four-eyed shorty to warn them not to run. He felt insulted by it. Shi calmly replied that it was just a reminder. Zhengyang admitted that Shi's performance in the first 2 stages was impressive. He didn't even get a chance to act. But now, he already understood how this game worked. He declared that he would defeat Shi fairly, and then take down the next stage boss himself. He charged forward. Shi didn't move. He simply said that Zhengyang was not his opponent. Then he raised his hand and slapped him out of the air. Zhengyang realized that this kind of strength was beyond normal human limits, so he assumed it was coming from the game. Shi confirmed it. He told him that the next stage would be extremely tricky, and if Zhengyang was willing to team up, he would give him 3 attribute cards. Zhengyang asked what made him so sure that he would agree. Ji answered that it was because of a card he was about to show him. He activated it on Zhengyang. It was the memory card. One of the biggest difficulties of Slaughter Company is that it erases real-world memories. Without memories, people lose their emotional anchors. Without those, there is no weakness to exploit, but more importantly, no way to unite. Shi realized long ago that the gods understood human nature far too well. Fortunately, the memory card restores those lost memories. In his past life, Shi had seen Zhengyang's weakness. That was why he was certain this would work. Zhengyang suddenly saw a memory. A child. Zhengyu. That single image was enough. He immediately knew that he had to survive. Someone was still waiting for him outside. He looked at Shi and asked if teaming up would really allow them to clear the stage. Shi answered, without hesitation. It was possible. Then he handed him more attribute cards. Zhengyang accepted them. He said he would remember this favor. His strength, stamina, and agility all rose to level 1. Shi quickly explained the plan. He needed Zhengyang to hold back part of the enemies while he dealt with the rest. Zhengyang agreed. Shi then used his E+ rank strength cards, along with the head chef's surprise buff. His strength rose to level 7. Even at level 7, it still wasn't enough to comfortably face the next boss. To be safe, he would need at least level 9 strength. Everything now depended on the buff. The head chef's surprise buff activated. His strength increased by another 3 levels. Duration, 10 minutes. Shi knew the stage would be manageable now. There was still one more hidden rule that could push his strength even higher. The head chef's reward turned out to be extremely valuable. They arrived at the monster's territory. The security monsters were surprised. Only 2 people had shown up. They assumed the others were hiding. One of them mocked how thin they looked, saying there was barely any meat on them. Another laughed, wondering how many hits from their batons they could survive. Jung-young felt the pressure immediately. It was his first time facing monsters directly like this. The killing intent in the air was overwhelming. For a moment, he doubted whether the two of them could really win. She stepped forward and declared that the two of them were enough to kill every single one of them. Jung-young looked at him. There was no fear in Shi's eyes. So, he steadied himself and chose to stand firm. The system announced that they had arrived at the ground floor lobby ahead of time and had initiated combat against the security team. The hidden rule, Reward of Courage, was activated. Both Shi and Jung-young received an additional +1 strength boost. For a brief moment, Shi's strength reached level 11. The head chef's surprise buff had taken effect, boosting his strength by 3 levels. His stamina and agility remained at level 5. Meanwhile, Jung-young's strength was at level 2, with stamina and agility both at level 1. Now that his power had risen to that level, Shi stepped forward and declared himself the boss of this stage. Shi charged ahead, and Jung-young told him to stop. Jung-young thought it was too rash. When he fought in underground boxing matches, he often faced opponents whose backgrounds he couldn't read clearly, and he believed that the best strategy in a situation like this was to observe the opponent's movements carefully, and then deliver a fatal blow. The monsters were determined to eat Shi. Jung-young thought that rushing in like that without understanding the situation would cause him to suffer a big loss. The monsters looked down on them because they seemed weak. One monster decided to strike first, but Shi struck back. Jung-young realized that with this kind of speed and power, there was no need for a second strike. The monsters sensed that something was off about him, so they attacked together. The system notified the players to enter the ground floor lobby immediately to participate in the final stage. After the countdown ended, players who had not arrived would be judged as failed. There were 56 seconds left. She knew that even before the countdown ended, anyone who reached the ground floor lobby would be attacked. This was another hidden, malicious rule. 49 seconds left. She tried to kill as many monsters as possible to create a relatively safe environment for Wen and the others. At this point, Wen led everyone forward in an orderly way. She was glad to see how well Wen understood the situation. He had already grasped Shi's true intention. When Shi had deliberately stopped midway, Wen knew there was a reason. He understood that his role was to delay time and lead everyone in at the final moment. 12 seconds left. Meanwhile, Jung-young decided to step in and help Shi since the monsters seemed weak. As if sensing his intent, Shi told him not to attack, since his role was to protect the others. One monster realized Shi was too strong, so it ordered the others to attack weaker targets to recover. This became Jung-young's chance to act. The monster went after Wen first, but Jung-young grabbed its head, and then he punched it. He wouldn't let it eat their people. He knew that Shi didn't like everyone, but since he wanted to save them, he knew he had his reasons. He realized that the monster was resisting strongly. He couldn't deal any damage at all. That made him wonder how Shi was doing it so easily. Wen told everyone not to move and not to attract the monster's attention. He trusted that the boss and the others would get them out. The crowd agreed with him. At this moment, they could only trust them. They cheered for Shi. The blue vein sword skill had finished charging. The leader of the monsters told the others to activate their skills and kill Shi in one move. Shi was thinking the same thing. He cut them all down in one strike. Wen and the others were amazed. They felt lucky to have someone like him with them. Jung-young wondered how Shi could be so powerful when even one monster had left him exhausted. Shi pointed his sword at one of the monsters and said, "It was next." It was the security captain, the final boss. It was level 7 with level 10 strength, level 7 agility, and level 8 stamina. Its health was at 100%. The security captain said that killing someone like Shi would bring him pleasure. The crowd was terrified. With such stats, Wen wondered if Shi could win. In Shi's past life, defeating the security captain took many lives and a long time. He kept attacking, and this time, he alone was enough. Before the security captain could even strike, Shi had already slashed it multiple times. Its body was cut into pieces. At this point, Shi was level 8 with 200 out of 1,000 experience. His strength rose to level 14, while his stamina and agility were at level 8. His learned skills were still locked. He held the blue vein sword and the head chef's surprise buff. He also gained a reward of courage that increased his strength by 1 level, along with an unidentifiable blessing. Every monster he defeated gave him E+ rank attribute cards. Combined with the 2 buffs, his strength reached level 14, greatly increasing his combat power. Now, he enjoyed the benefit of taking all the experience and attribute cards alone. When he cleared this in his past life, He was only level 2. Wen realized that his boss was unbelievably strong, almost not human. The others began thinking about sticking close to someone like him. He watched Zheng Yang fight and expected the last monster to be defeated soon. Zheng Yang declared that his next punch would decide the winner. The monster said it would send him to his death. But suddenly, Shi cut the monster down. He said there was no need to try so hard. Zheng Yang was stunned. He realized how powerless he was. The monster he struggled against was easily defeated by Shi. The system announced that everyone had successfully cleared the E-rank rookie dungeon Slaughter Company. The contribution leaderboard showed Shi at 99.9%, Zheng Yang at 0.075%, Wen at 0.025%, and the rest at 0%. Shi looked forward to what extra rewards he would receive for having 99.9% contribution. E-rank dungeon Slaughter Company clearance reward settlement was in progress. The survival clearance reward was an E-rank all-attribute activation card given to all surviving players. Everything obtained in the dungeon could be brought into the real world. The other players were glad they received rewards too. It was valuable, since surviving was not easy. Just like before, as long as one survived, they could obtain basic rewards. This kind of reward increased the chance of surviving the next dungeon. Shi knew that gaining powerful attributes could also lead people to commit evil acts in reality. In this life, he planned to establish the player management laws as soon as possible to control these sudden powers. To achieve this, he needed the support of those powerful figures in the real world. His ranking on the leaderboard would attract them to approach him. The World Player Contribution Leaderboard was released. Shi ranked first with 3,000 contribution points. Second place was Han Shunhai with 510. Third was Liu Yan with 490. And fourth was Yun Yan with 480. Since he led by a huge margin, he was confident that anyone could see he dominated this dangerous game. The cleared players received E-rank all-attribute activation cards. Their attributes increased to level 1 in strength, agility, stamina, and mana. Everyone felt energized as if their bodies became lighter. Wen was happy to receive one. His attributes were now strength level 1, agility level 4, stamina level 2, and mana level 1. Zheng Yang realized that higher attributes made him much stronger. Meanwhile, Shi was level 8. His strength was level 15, agility level 9, stamina level 9, and mana level 1. He also had the head chef's surprise buff with strength level 3 and the reward of courage with strength level 1. The stage contribution rewards varied depending on contribution. Wen expected that he wouldn't receive much since his contribution was low. Zheng Yang regretted not acting earlier to gain more contribution. Even Shi didn't know what reward he would receive. In his past life, he had never achieved such a high contribution. Wen had 0.025% contribution and received an E-rank strength attribute card. He didn't expect he could still gain attributes. Zheng Yang had 0.075% contribution and received an E-rank strength attribute card and an E-rank stamina attribute card. He realized how useful contribution was. They knew Shi's contribution was extremely high, so they were curious about what kind of reward he would receive. Shi found it interesting. It was his first time getting such a reward. With 99.9% contribution, he received an E+ rank max all attribute card, which could directly raise all attributes to level 10. He also received a special player class change card, which allowed a random class change with a chance of obtaining an S-rank top-tier class. Lastly, he obtained a special permanent card called Team Formation, which allowed him to summon 2 players into any dungeon he entered. This meant that Shi could grow stronger while also building his own faction. His luck wasn't bad at all. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Everyone became alarmed. They saw the dungeon scene start to disappear. They felt hopeful that it meant they could return to reality. Shi told them that they could now return and catch a short break. He explained that from the moment they entered the game, the world had already changed. Something was trying to destroy their world, and it created this slaughter game. The crowd couldn't believe that such a game existed. Shi told them to use their full strength in the next dungeon. He urged them to clear the dungeon, kill the boss, and gain power. He encouraged them to gain enough strength to defeat those enemies and protect their world. Zheng Yang said it was a bold statement. Then, they all disappeared. Shi ranked first on the World Player Contribution Leaderboard and obtained an S-rank special card reward. The S-rank special card held power beyond gods, so he had to use it carefully. A shadow of a man appeared. He had wings and an eye at the center of his chest. He observed Shi, and if Shi continued to perform well, he would grant him divine power. Shi woke up on a hospital bed. He felt relieved. He hoped someone had listened to what he said, because saving the world would require more people. The nurse saw him and was shocked that he was awake. She quickly called the doctor. The doctor examined him and confirmed that his mind was clear and all indicators were normal. There were no major issues. The doctor told him that he had been in a coma for 3 days. Hundreds of thousands of people had fallen into a coma at the same time, but she was the first to wake up. He wondered how it could be such a coincidence that so many people around the world fell into a coma at once. He asked Shi if he knew anything, but instead of answering, Shi looked for his mother. They went to her hospital room. The doctor told him that she fell into a deep coma on the same day as him. Everything was normal, but she wouldn't wake up. From a medical point of view, his mother had already become a vegetable. Just like in his past life, she was also chosen as part of the first batch of players. The selection process of the day of confinement didn't pull everyone into the game at once. Instead, people were taken in batches. Those who failed would permanently become vegetables, reliving this life. The most important thing for him was to stop his mother from suffering like that and let her live a good life. At that moment, she had the S-rank special card number 001, Freedom. It had the ability to select a player so that the day of confinement would no longer choose that person. The user could also gain the ability to enter or exit game dungeons freely, and he planned to use that card to free his mother. Suddenly, the room became extremely bright. The doctor asked what was happening. He was shocked. He asked how it was possible. Shi's mother woke up. She looked confused about why she was there. Shi hugged her tightly. He promised her that nothing would ever happen to her again. The doctor thought it was a miracle. Meanwhile, people who learned that Shi ranked first on the world contribution leaderboard began trying to win him over. They believed that in the future, Shi might become the new ruler of the world. Back to our MC, Shi's mother told him that she had been in a very scary amusement park. There were all kinds of monsters and many people. The monsters were chasing them. He asked what happened next. It turned out that what she experienced was an amusement park-style initial game dungeon. She continued, saying that she saw a monster reaching out its claws toward her. Then her vision went black and she didn't know what happened after that. When she opened her eyes again, she saw him. She thought it was just a strange dream, but she knew it wasn't a dream at all. Suddenly, someone called out to Shi and shouted that he had transmigrated. He recognized the voice. It was Ching. Just like in his past life, Ching had cleared the game and woken up. Ching rushed into the room and said he had transmigrated into a game world, just like a manga protagonist. He was amazed. He went on to say that there were many people with him, and a strong man and woman led them to clear the dungeon. Shi's mother asked if he also had that strange dream. Shi noticed that Ching's childish behavior hadn't changed at all. Shi led him outside and told his mother to rest. They planned to talk outside. Ching asked if Shi didn't believe him. He insisted that everything he said was true. Shi asked if it was called Day of Confinement. Ching was shocked that he knew. Shi told him that those things could be brought into reality. He asked him to open the World Player Contribution Leaderboard. Ching was confused by what he meant. He opened it and was shocked. He didn't expect the person in first place. Shi told him that he saw it correctly. He was ranked first. Ching couldn't believe it. Shi told him that he would receive a notification after using a card. It was the player class change card. It activated. The classes in Day of Confinement were extremely powerful. Class change cards were rare, and classes needed to be leveled up. At the early stage, classes were usually weak, but their potential was limitless, and there were 3 that were considered the strongest. One was the Elementalist, which could evolve into the 4 symbols ultimate. It could control wind, fire, water, and lightning. Another was the Dragonblood Descendant, which could evolve into the Black Flame Dragon King of Demise. It could transform into a giant dragon and unleash destructive black flames. The last one was the Seeker of Wisdom, which could evolve into the Sage of Time Crossing. It could control time and interfere with the timeline. This was the most powerful class and had never appeared before. Ji had only seen a few mentions of it in system messages in his past life. The class draw was random, so he was curious about what he would get. Then the words, Apprentice of All Phenomena, appeared on the screen. It was a class he had never heard of. In the status panel, he now had the class Apprentice of All Phenomena, but its grade was still unknown. His class talent was Resonance of Tools. It allowed him to perceive the logic flowing within all things. He could go beyond muscle memory and form a deep connection with tools, whether weapons or simple objects, reaching a state where his mind and technique moved as one. This class could also evolve, but to his surprise, it had 5 stages, while most classes only had 3. The difficulty of evolving it was far beyond anything he had ever seen. He became curious about what kind of power it would have at its final stage. Even as the former strongest player, he felt excited. Ching's jaw dropped when he saw the announcement that Shi had become the world's first class holder. He was completely stunned. Shi asked what he was trying to say. Ching suddenly clung to his leg and begged him to carry him. At that moment, the nurse walked in and asked if she had come at a bad time. She asked if something was wrong. He remembered that in his past life, the nurse came to collect payment at this exact moment, and it caused him a lot of trouble. The nurse explained that the hospitalization fees his mother paid earlier in the year had already been used up. On top of that, his treatment fees had been overdue for more than a month. Ching quickly offered his card, saying he still had a few thousand left. But she told him there was no need. He would find another way. In his past life, he earned money by making deals with powerful figures and working as their bodyguard. After all, a player's physical strength was far beyond that of normal people. This time he planned to carry the burden himself, the one his mother used to bear. He refused to be anyone's burden again. Just then, the nurse received a call. She answered it, and her expression changed instantly. She was shocked by what she heard. She told Shi that he didn't need to worry anymore. Someone had already paid a huge amount for his medical fees, enough to cover hundreds of years in the hospital. It even covered the patient with the buzz cut. Ching pointed at himself and asked if she meant him. He quickly denied having any mental illness and said he was just there to visit a friend. Before they could say more, they heard someone asking for Ward 226. A blonde man walked in. Behind him were a green-haired woman and a man in a striped suit. He asked if Luo Shi was there. Ching asked who they were. The blonde man asked if he was Shi's friend. The woman added that they had important matters to discuss with him. The man in the striped suit politely asked for help in contacting Shi. Shi smiled. He didn't expect them to arrive this quickly. These were the big shots who had also been pulled into the day of confinement. Ching asked why they were looking for Shi. From the way they dressed, he could tell they were big shots. He guessed that they came because Shi was now ranked number 1 in the world. But then he started thinking about money. He wondered how much 100 years of hospital fees would cost, and why they would even pay for him too when he wasn't even admitted. The nurse quietly told Shi that these people were the ones who paid the fees. Shi thanked her and said he already knew. She was shocked that he knew. Shi, then, told them that he was the person they were looking for. The blonde man noticed how calm he was, even under their pressure. It was just as expected from the world's number 1 player, but he didn't expect him to be this young. Shi already knew who they were. These were people who could shake both politics and business. The blonde man was Zhao Ming, the person in charge of a national group and a rising political figure. The man in the striped suit was Ding Yiyun, the CEO of a global tech group and someone closely tied to the military. The green-haired woman was Zheng Xilin, the leader of a massive international company controlling energy and resources across many countries. Ming said he had heard a lot about Shi. Yiyun said it was nice to meet him. Xilin assumed Shi didn't know them, so she offered to introduce them. But Shi said he already knew who they were, so they could skip that and get to the point. They were surprised. It only proved that Shi was no ordinary person, just as expected from the one ranked first in the world. Xilin found him even more interesting now. She suggested they move to a proper place they had prepared to talk, but Shi refused. He said there was no need to go that far. They could just talk in the doctor's office. They exchanged looks. Then they agreed and followed him. Xilin realized that Shi was not someone who would give up control easily. Meanwhile, Ching and the nurse stood there, completely stunned. Ching couldn't believe it. Just 10 minutes ago, Shi was just a patient who couldn't even pay his hospital bills. And now, these big shots were following him. Shi turned back and told Ching to bring the clearing strategy guide he gave him and come along. Ching was shocked that he was included. He wondered if he even qualified to join them. He asked if he really needed to bring the guide. Shi started to suspect something. Ching got nervous and admitted that he thought Shi was joking, so he threw it in the trash downstairs. Then he quickly ran off to get it back. Shi felt annoyed. Now he understood why Ching and his mother didn't get any benefits in the novice dungeon. He vowed to make that brat eat 2 of his punches. Xilin asked about the clearing strategy guide he mentioned. She confirmed that it was the clearing strategy guide for all novice game dungeons in Day of Confinement. They asked how that was even possible when the game had just descended. They begged him not to joke about something like that. He answered that whether it was true or not, they would know once Ching picked it up. Outside the room, 4 guards stood watch. The doctor who owned the room had received a call from the director telling him to vacate the office. That made them wonder what kind of big shots were inside. Ming read through the notebook and realized it was actually real. It recorded the dungeon he experienced, including monster types, weaknesses, and even hidden rules, all clearly written. Xilin saw her own dungeon written in the notebook as well. It was the same for Yiyun. Ching leaned close and whispered in Shi's ear, asking if everything in there was really true. Shi replied that if he had just listened earlier, he would already have a spot on the world leaderboard. Ching almost cried for missing such a huge chance. The 3 of them admitted that they originally wanted him to join their team, but now they realized his ability was far beyond anything they imagined. They simply weren't qualified to recruit him. Shi asked what they were trying to say. Xilin said he seemed like a prophet who could see everything. He agreed. It did feel that way. In his past life, survivors huddled together just to stay alive, writing detailed dungeon records on forums. To find ways to clear them, he forced himself to memorize every dungeon rule. He never expected those efforts from his past life would be useful again. Now, it became a powerful bargaining chip to fight back against those evil gods. She asked what they wanted from him. The big shots looked at each other and nodded. They bowed and politely asked him to become their consultant. They needed his help with the Day of Confinement game. Ming admitted that the feeling of being on the edge of death last time was terrifying. So if they had Shi's help, next time wouldn't be as bad. They knew they would be dragged into it again and they didn't want to die. Qing quietly watched Shi's reaction. They continued, saying that if he agreed, no matter what conditions he set, they would accept all of them. Shi confidently replied that becoming a consultant was not out of the question. It made him look really cool in Qing's eyes. Shi's family had been destitute for many years, so Qing knew their most urgent need was money. This way, his aunt wouldn't have to work so hard anymore, and he wouldn't have to work every day either. He even planned to spend more time with Shi. Shi told those big shots that if they wanted his help, they had to agree to 3 conditions. Qing was delighted when he heard that. He felt proud seeing one request turn into 3. At that moment, he knew who the real master was. The big shots replied that even if it were 30 or 300 conditions, they would agree to all of them. They told him to speak freely. Qing suddenly turned pale when he realized Shi might be asking for too little. Shi said that the first condition was for them to distribute the Novice Dungeon Strategy Guide in their hands. Whether through print or the internet, any method was fine. They couldn't believe he was willing to share such a life-saving treasure. Yiyun pointed out that the commercial value of the booklet would far exceed his imagination. Shilin agreed and added that the game was extremely dangerous, and no one would gamble with their life. Shi reminded them that he had just shown it to them for free. They realized how generous he was. Shi clarified that what he wanted was different. He didn't just want to save them, he wanted to save more people. And if they couldn't agree to the first condition, then there was nothing more to discuss. The 3 fell silent and sank into their thoughts. Ming knew he wasn't pretending. Yiyun noticed that Shi showed no sign of hesitation. Deep inside, Shilin admired him. He looked calm and had a kind heart. Shi believed he was a rare good man in this world. They agreed to his first condition and promised to spread it across the world as fast as possible. Shi moved on to the second condition. He wanted them to establish the Player Administration Bureau and create player management laws. The goal was to control players who gained supernatural powers so they wouldn't destroy the world's normal order. They assured him that they shared the same goal. They wouldn't allow powerful players to bully ordinary people. Shi then moved to the final condition. The 3 became nervous when they saw him hesitate. They wondered if it would be something extremely difficult. They even thought he might ask for something far beyond what they could handle. Inside, Qing silently hoped that Shi would just ask for more money. Shi said he wanted a house. It didn't have to be big, but he didn't want to keep living in a psychiatric hospital with his mother. He hoped she could live a normal life. They were stunned that his final condition was that simple. Even Qing felt disappointed. She thought it might be difficult for them to accept. After all, asking for himself made him feel uncomfortable, and he didn't want to seem like a beggar. But they quickly told him not to say that. They eagerly agreed to the condition without any issue. In fact, they were excited to prepare a house for him. He was glad to hear that, but he told them not to get too excited. They calmed down. Deep inside, they all thought the same thing. This was the easiest of the 3 conditions, and it was also the best chance to build favor with him. The 3 of them silently started competing over who would provide it. Since all 3 conditions were now stated, Shi decided to leave first. He expected someone to arrive soon. He informed them that the countdown for the next opening of Day of Confinement was about to appear. Everyone was shocked. Right on cue, the system notification appeared. It showed the countdown for the next round of the game. Only players who survived the novice dungeon could see it. They had 72 hours left. Shi told them that after they completed his requirements, he would write the strategy for all the dungeons in the second round. He urged them to move quickly since they only had 3 days. They all answered yes and bowed to him. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. A guard stepped in and said someone had arrived. Yiyun scolded the guard. He had already ordered them not to disturb them, even if officials came. The guard panicked and explained that it was Shi's girlfriend. Everyone froze. Qing got angry at Shi after hearing that he had been dating behind his back. Shi grabbed his face and told him to shut up before he caused any misunderstanding. He also clarified that he wasn't dating anyone. A pretty woman holding flowers walked into the room. The guard tried to stop her. Qing glared at her. The 3 big shots quietly observed. Shilin thought that she and the woman matched well, just by appearance. But she didn't look happy to see her. He remembered her standing with another man, telling him to get lost. She said someone like him, a mental patient, had no right to like her. Back in school, many people thought he liked her, but at that time he only saw her as a friend, and now she was also a player. The woman gave She the bouquet and apologized for what happened. The big shots noticed that she didn't seem to like her. They were about to step in when they sensed trouble. But Ching beat them to it. He blocked her from getting close to She and told her to stay away. He questioned her right to even speak after she publicly humiliated She before. She became flustered. She tried to explain that she was young and ignorant back then, and she knew she was wrong. But she already knew why she came. It was because she saw the leaderboard. After hearing that, Shillin's brows furrowed. She immediately understood her intention. The woman admitted it was true, but she added that even if she rejected him before, she believed he wouldn't just let her die. That only made Ching more angry. He said her so-called rejection was more like slander and told her to choose her words properly. She tapped Ching's shoulder and told him to lower his voice since they were in a hospital. He said they should leave. Before walking out, She told her that he only ever saw her as a friend and never liked her. The woman insisted he was just being stubborn. She said that if he helped her, she would become his girlfriend. She chased after him, shouting that she would never leave him. The guards stepped in and blocked her. She was stunned. She shouted at them to move and claimed she was his girlfriend. Ming said it clearly. She didn't want anything to do with her. Shilin added that she shouldn't flatter herself, since She had already said she was never his girlfriend. They ordered the guards to escort her out. The guards grabbed her as she screamed for them to let go. Meanwhile, Ching told She that he was amazing. They headed toward the ward, because She was expecting someone to already be there. He opened the door. A silver-haired woman turned toward him. She's mother said that Xiao Yirue had come to visit him again. The silver-haired woman Xiao Yirue said that Auntie told her he stepped out, so she helped with some chores while waiting. She smiled and said that it had been a long time since they last saw each other. That confused her, since she had just visited last week. But in his past life, he remembered it clearly. She was lying in a pool of blood, and her final words to him were to keep living. In this life, he vowed not to let any important person leave him again. He pulled her into a hug. It made her blush. Ching watched them and wondered if they were really just friends. He found it strange. That night, the hospital voluntarily moved him and his mother to a better ward. It just showed how much influence Ming and the others had. The countdown screen showed that there were 63 hours left. He expected the next dungeon to be the same as in his past life. After the class change, he obtained the skill Resonance of Tools. It gave him a different feeling toward everything he touched. For example, the bed. After activating the ability, he felt like he was analyzing the entire object, and his understanding of the hospital bed became very deep. He could even tell that the second screw on the left leg of the bed was about to come loose. Unfortunately, there were no weapons in the hospital. Otherwise, he could test how far this analysis could go. Suddenly, a voice spoke. It told him that he had the qualifications to participate in the god's trial. He recognized it. It was the same voice he had heard before, the one that had appeared in his mind many times since he was born. He asked who it was and what this qualification meant. The voice replied that he would know who it was one day. But for now, he could choose whether he wanted to undergo the god's trial. He realized that this voice held the power to help him defeat the evil gods. He knew this was his only chance. He accepted the trial with determination. The creature smiled, clearly pleased with his answer. The trial began. The creature told him that if he passed, he could return to their world. Otherwise, he would remain trapped in the trial space forever. Shai was being transported. He had never seen this kind of holy and mysterious power. He had to pass the trial to leave, so he was curious about what the reward would be. The place of trial was completed. Eventually, he landed on the ground. He looked around him. He was confused when he saw a palace. The creature who gave him the trial appeared. The creature was in a misty form, but its large frame and wings could be seen from its silhouette. It told Shi that the trial was simple. He had to kill his opponent within 10 minutes, and then he could leave. It reminded him that the wisdom to perceive everything was the only way to win. Now, the trial began. The eyeless Oathkeeper, the strongest swordsman who would never be injured, appeared. The 10-minute timer started. He carefully observed his opponent. From the front, he looked like a tall man wearing shiny silver armor with gold details and a large blue cape. He had long blonde hair and wore a blindfold. He calmly held a huge sword, but from the back, it looked disturbing. A skeleton was fused into his back, like a corpse attached to him. It was the strongest player against the strongest swordsman. He was given a weapon for the battle. It was like an answer to his concern about not having a way to test his resonance of tools. But the system notified him that since it wasn't a real tool, it couldn't resonate. Now he understood that resonance of tools only worked on real objects, and the sword was just an illusion. Since that was the case, he knew not to waste time. He planned to clear the trial in one go. He was curious about what the strongest swordsman could do. The swordsman charged at him. As he blocked the attack, he could tell that the man had strong power. The man pulled back his sword and shifted his position. She was surprised by how fast and strong his movements were, even while using a great sword. Then he saw the stance of a finishing move. A large arc of glowing energy followed the slash as the swordsman struck the ground, smashing the floor and sending debris everywhere. The attack was both fast and heavy. She jumped high to dodge it. While in the air, he noticed that even with such a powerful move, there was an opening that could decide the fight. She also saw that his opponent was an illusion, just like the sword, so cutting him wouldn't cause any hesitation. His strike almost cut the head off. He thought that kind of wound would be fatal, but it regenerated. Now he understood why he was called the strongest swordsman who would never be injured. This man could not be killed. She thought of another way to kill him instead of beheading. He wondered what he should do. He remembered the creature's words earlier, that the wisdom to perceive everything was the only way to win. He knew that hint would be useful. He noticed the skeleton on the knight's back. He tried to attack it and realized the knight was protecting it. Now he understood why this man was called the Eyeless Oathkeeper. His oath was to protect the person behind him. He now knew what to do to win. The creature watched and judged that she was not yet qualified to receive the god's blessing. No matter what swordsmanship was used, it was impossible to kill the Eyeless Oathkeeper. There were only 2 minutes and 19 seconds left. She struck the Eyeless Oathkeeper and removed his eye bandage. The god who was watching was surprised that, instead of beheading him, she told the Eyeless Oathkeeper to open his eyes and look at the person he was protecting, because it was already a skeleton. The Eyeless Oathkeeper looked behind him and was shocked. He fell into despair after seeing the skeleton. He started to vanish. 51 seconds remained on the timer. She said that the answer to the riddle was within the riddle itself. The Oathkeeper who could not be killed would only self-destruct once he saw his oath fail. He realized that the weapon given at the start was just meant to mislead him. He asked the one hidden in the mist if he was right. The god revealed himself and said he was correct. The simpler something was, the harder it was to see through, but she managed to do it. The god decided to grant him a blessing after seeing that she had the qualification. She became curious about what power he would receive. A bright light enveloped she. The god told him that this was the true trial, so he had better endure it. She asked what he meant and if there was another trial. The god said that if he wanted to accept the blessing, he had to withstand the source of divine power. He would feel the mental shock from all living beings, along with their pain, joy, anger, and sorrow. These were the prayers of billions. Suddenly, she began to fall. Then everything turned red and eerie. He heard terrifying screams echoing around him. Mask-like faces appeared in the darkness, staring at him from every direction. Then he began to see the life experiences of different people. He realized that divine power came from the faith of all living beings on Earth. He felt an overwhelming power, and it made him smile. After gaining such strength, he couldn't help but laugh. He planned to gain the support of Earth's gods to fight against the invading evil gods. The god watched as he faced the final and strongest shock that no human should be able to endure. But he wasn't sure if she had already fallen. Then he saw him. She was still standing. The god found it interesting, just as expected from the one they had chosen. She had received the god's blessing, and he should remember the god's name. Furthermore, once he gained their approval, the true ultimate blessing would descend. She had many questions, but the god disappeared. She panicked because he hadn't heard the name yet. He suddenly woke up from his hospital bed. He wondered what kind of blessing he had received. Then the system screen appeared. It informed him that he had gained a special blessing called Mental Guardian, which would permanently protect him from all mental type abilities. The one who granted it was the Seraph Gabriel. Now he finally knew the name, and he suspected this was the unidentified blessing he saw before. Being immune to mental type abilities was extremely useful, but now he was even more interested in the other gods Gabriel mentioned, and the ultimate blessing they spoke of. He didn't expect that the mental illness that troubled him before was actually a group of gods on Earth. In the end, the power to save the world had been hidden inside his illness all along. Ching checked the countdown on his phone and was amazed to see a video version. He got too loud, so she smacked him on the head and reminded him that they were in a hospital. Ching excitedly showed him the dungeon simulation video they made, and it looked very realistic. Ji's mother was glad to see that their friendship was strong. Ji watched the video and acknowledged that Ming and his team were efficient. In less than 2 days, promotional videos for the initial game dungeon were already all over the internet. Moreover, they had already reached cooperation with the officials and established the Player Management Special Action Bureau. It also showed the World Player Leaderboard. She wondered if the storm he stirred would allow those naturally powerful players to spread their wings and rise. The nurse told Shi to look outside because there was a convoy saying they were there to pick him up. Ching rushed to the window to check. His eyes lit up when he saw that it really was a convoy. The 3 big shots were there. Several guards stood around, and multiple cars followed the limousine. Shilin saw Ching at the window and asked him to tell Shi that they had come to pick him up to see his new residence. Ching got even more excited. He said that they really brought a convoy just to pick them up. Shi replied that he already knew, and they should head down. Deep inside, he wondered if rich people always like to make such a big scene. His mother looked worried. She told him not to get involved in anything illegal. Ching was confused by what she said. She assured her that they hadn't done anything wrong. He said that he was just saving the world right now. That only made his mother more confused. The nurse thought he was still talking nonsense, but she knew that sooner or later they would understand the truth. They went to the villa that Ming had carefully selected. It was surrounded by beautiful mountains and clear water with a garden in the backyard, and all the food was organic and fresh. It also came with 16 bodyguards and 8 nannies working around the clock. It would definitely be comfortable for him and his mother. She turned back and told him that he would check the others. Ching was surprised that he didn't even like it. Ming commented that it was such a pity. He couldn't understand Shi's taste. Yeyun and Shilin were waiting for him in the car. Since Shi didn't like the house Ming prepared, it was now Yeyun's turn. But Shilin thought this was her chance. Yeyun was confident in the house he chose. He believed he would win Shi's favor. Yeyun believed that a young talent like Shi should live in a place overlooking the entire Qingshan city. Ching's eyes sparkled. He was amazed to see the whole city. Yeyun told them that the apartment was located in the most central area of Qingshan City, a landmark building designed by a world-famous architect, and this unit was the top-tier king of the building in the tower. Moreover, he had prepared something extra for Shi. Ching became excited. He told everyone to come out. They were the 10 nannies he selected for Shi. They were all young and beautiful women. Ching got extremely excited when he saw so many goddess-level beauties. They surrounded Shi. Ming and Shilin were stunned. They hadn't thought of this. This made Yeyun believe that no man could refuse his offer. But Shi simply left to check the next place. Yeyun couldn't believe it. This only proved that Shi was truly different from others. Ming still hoped he had a chance. Shilin led him to the house she had chosen. It wasn't as luxurious, but she hoped he would like it. She had done her research and learned about his and his mother's past, so she believed he would find the house familiar. She said it felt both familiar and unfamiliar. Ching realized that it used to be Shi's childhood home. He knew it had been sold to pay for Shi's treatment. Ming and Yeyun already knew they had lost. Shilin explained that the house had changed owner several times, so the layout wasn't exactly the same. But she had done her best to restore it and make it comfortable. She realized how thoughtful she was. The room arrangement was close to what he remembered from his childhood. He said he would take it and thanked her. She told him there was no need to be polite since it was her honor. The 2 men felt defeated. They didn't expect to lose so completely. She told Ching to bring it out. Shilin asked what it was. Ching handed it over. It was all the strategy guides for the second round dungeons that Shi had written over the past few days. Only players who cleared the novice dungeon would encounter them. She couldn't believe something so valuable was just tucked into his waistband like that. They asked if they could distribute it to everyone as well. She said there was no need, but they could choose some people with good potential and give it to them. The game day of confinement required players to understand and grow stronger on their own, so for those who passed the novice dungeon by luck, even if they received it, they wouldn't go far. What he wanted was to filter out excellent players. They only needed to help rookies understand the rules, and that would be enough. The truly capable ones would stand out on their own. They understood his intention. Shilin then asked why he wanted to select these excellent players. She said he needed them to save the world with him. Everyone was shocked. They realized he had a grand goal. There were 2 hours and 69 minutes left before the next round began. Ching proudly told Shi that he was ready and had packed a whole pile of supplies. He carried a huge backpack. Shi hugged his mother and told her that he would be back very soon. She asked where they were going. Ching, acting like a child, said they were going on an adventure to another world. The countdown ended, and the selected players were about to be teleported. Ching said goodbye to Mrs. Luo. She believed Ching could clear it on his own, so he didn't plan to help him. Ching told him to watch him make it onto the leaderboard. Then they were teleported. Just like in his past life, the second dungeon was Extreme Cold Apartment. This was a D-rank dungeon, and those who entered were no longer rookies. They had to find the boss and defeat it to clear the dungeon. There was a 5-minute countdown before the door opened. Just like before, the system gave misleading hints. It wasn't as simple as finding the boss. To clear the dungeon, he needed a completely reliable teammate, because the true clearing condition was to team up with a reliable partner and draw out 2 bosses from the top and bottom floors. They had to bring both bosses to the middle floor and make them meet. Only then could the dungeon be cleared. After all, the memory of being betrayed by that person in his past life was still fresh in his mind. He looked forward to meeting the most reliable person in his heart. The special permanent card team formation effect was activated. It summoned Rui. She was surprised to see him. She asked what he was doing there. And then she asked where she was. Shai told Rui that he was the one who brought her into his game dungeon. If he remembered correctly, she should have been on a small island and some prompts had appeared in front of her. In his past life, she became a player the second time he entered the game, and her first novice dungeon was an island survival type. It was that island dungeon that gave her deep trauma and caused her suffering for a long time. So the main reason he brought her into his dungeon was to change her fate. He couldn't let her go through that again. She asked how he knew she was on a small island. Then she noticed the prompts in front of her. She had been welcomed into the D-rank dungeon, Extreme Cold Apartment. She remembered seeing this game in a video while browsing the internet. She tried to recall its name. She told her that it was called Day of Confinement. He said that he needed a completely reliable teammate, so he chose her. There were 2.5 minutes left before the door would open, and they would face terrifying monsters. He asked if she would be his partner and reached out his hand to her. She remembered the same moment from when they were children. He had asked her to come play with him. Back then, she hesitated, but she still took his hand. And this time, she agreed right away. With 22 seconds left, he asked if she had remembered everything he said. She said she had memorized it all. Monsters could appear anywhere, so she shouldn't touch anything carelessly. This wasn't really an apartment, but a maze with upper and lower levels. The way to clear it was to make the bosses from the top and bottom floors meet. She told her that he was about to open the door. Rui was determined to become a reliable teammate. It was an icy room. She felt the cold immediately. It was even colder inside. He told her it would feel better once they obtained attribute cards. He already knew where the monsters were, so he would head there right away. He saw a figure coming out of the alley, and his expression darkened. It was the person who betrayed him in his past life. And he looked exactly the same. The man complained about how cold it was. He was afraid that a monster might suddenly jump out. He felt relieved when he saw other people. Then he realized that they were players too. Ji already knew what he would do next. He would accept the team invitation from him. The man looked honest and dutiful, the kind of person people easily trust. But in reality, he was a shameless scum who betrayed his teammates. In his past life, he had approached Ji first, acting friendly and gentle to gain his trust. But in every battle, he hid behind him. At that time, she thought the man was just weak. That wasn't the truth. When she had used all his strength to defeat a floor boss, the man betrayed him without hesitation just to steal the attribute cards. He stabbed Shi in the back and left him lying in a pool of blood. Back then, Shi almost died because of that. But someone reached out and saved him. Back to the present. The man now offered to team up so they could watch each other's backs and deal with monsters more easily. But deep inside, he was just waiting for a chance to kill Shi and take the woman for himself. He had also set his sights on Shi's sword, which was better than his dagger. He urged Shi to join forces. But since this man had stabbed Shi in the back before, Shi returned the favor. The man was shocked. Just like what the man did in the past, Shi planned to leave him there and let him fend for himself. Shi asked Rui if she had any questions. She said no. She trusted that he had his reasons. They moved on to find attribute cards for her. A man appeared and walked toward the injured man. He confirmed that Shi's appearance matched the information he had received. He wondered if someone who freely shared the novice dungeon strategy guide would really harm others without reason. Liu Mao decided that Shi was someone worth observing. Mao was ranked 34th on the leaderboard. In one room, a monster was hanging. Shi kicked the door open to look for a monster. And just as he expected, it was there. It was the Hanging Cold Spirit, level 5, with level 5 strength, level 6 agility, level 2 stamina, and level 1 mana. It rushed toward them. Rui was terrified. It moved quickly while making strange monster noises. Shi glared at it and told it to shut up because it was too noisy. He simply slapped it. That sent it flying into a pile of objects. Just like that, it was defeated. They obtained E-rank attribute cards that could increase stamina below level 10. Rui asked if he always fought monsters like that. She told Rui that it wasn't exactly his usual way of fighting, because some monsters in the dungeon were tricky. The one he just slapped was especially weak. Rui, being a horror fan, got excited when she heard that there were monsters even she couldn't handle. He handed her the card and told her to hold it and think about using it so she could gain player attributes. She thought it sounded ridiculous. An apartment couldn't possibly have monsters like this. But when she used the card, it worked. Her stamina reached level 1. He praised her for learning it so quickly. They moved on to find the next one. After gaining attributes, she didn't feel as cold anymore. She asked him how he knew so much about the game. She wondered if it was because he liked playing it. That made him stop. His expression turned grim. She asked if she said something wrong. He told her that this game wasn't fun at all. He reminded her that their only goal in playing it was to destroy it. Even though she didn't understand, she trusted that he had his reasons. Suddenly, a monster came out of the wall. She grabbed its neck and crushed it in his hand. It was disappointing that it didn't drop any attribute cards. That was one of the difficulties of the dungeon. The drops were random, but he knew that the floor boss on each level would definitely drop cards. He went to find them. Meanwhile, the other players were struggling inside the maze. The apartment was so large that they couldn't find their way out. Rui noticed that those players knew far less than she. It made her admire how he could move through the maze without getting lost. While walking, she told her that the early danger of the extreme cold apartment wasn't that strong. The temperature dropped by 1 degree every 5 minutes. The starting temperature was 6 degrees. Only after 30 minutes would it fall below 0, but there was no limit to how low it could go. As time passed, even players with attributes wouldn't be able to endure it. If they couldn't find the floor boss of their lair, the door to the next floor would never open. The final result would be everyone freezing to death. That surprised her. He continued, saying that the higher or lower the floor, the faster the temperature dropped. But she still remembered where the floor boss of each layer was. Mao followed him and noticed that every move he made had a purpose. Unfortunately, the system gave him very few hints. He didn't know how to find the exit of the floor. It made him wonder if she had a method. This made him think that someone who could write so many novice dungeon strategy guides might really have a special ability. He hoped the world's #1 player wouldn't disappoint him. Deep inside the maze, the initial floor boss was in that area. Usually it hid itself well, so they needed to make noise to lure it out. But suddenly, someone appeared and recognized Shi. It was a punk. He asked if he was Luo Shi. Rui asked Shi if he knew him, but Shi didn't recognize the guy. They walked past him, which made the man shout at them not to look down on him. He said he was also on the leaderboard. Mao heard this and wondered what his rank was. Shi said he didn't remember him, because he only remembered the top 10 players. He asked what his rank was. The red-haired man got angry and told him not to be arrogant. He proudly said he was ranked 783, and after this dungeon, he would be #1. He introduced himself as Zhang Qi and said they could call him Qi Shao. Shi and Rui were not impressed. Mao even felt it wasn't worth reacting. Shi asked what this 783 wanted. Being called that made Qi Shao angry, so he demanded to be called by his name instead. He said he came to defeat Shi and take first place. He wanted everyone to believe that Shi only got first place by luck. Shi simply slapped him and sent him to the ground. Then Shi told 783 to stay in the corner because he had things to do. Qi Shao pulled out his dagger and told his companions to draw their weapons too. They planned to take Shi's loot. Qi Shao said he would slap Shi 100 times. Shi knew they were just foolish, not truly evil. So he decided to teach them a lesson. He kicked open a door and picked up a wooden stick from inside. He planned to use only that to teach them properly. The situation favored Shi since he also needed to make a scene to attract the floor boss. At the same time, he could test his class skill. He used resonance of tools on the wooden stick. It activated successfully, and the system showed that the weapon rating was E, a useless trash item, with 99.9 resonance level. With repeated use, the resonance level would increase. He also gained a level 1 strength buff. Now he knew that the skill could automatically rate weapons. He realized that this skill would be very useful if he encountered unidentified items in the future. Qi Shao called him an arrogant brat for not using his sword. He said it would be his biggest mistake. Shi simply glared at them. Qi Shao called his brothers to follow him, but they hesitated. They were too scared. This made Qi Shao furious. He called them useless and forced them to move. They were afraid because they knew Shi was ranked first in the world. Some of them even questioned if their boss knew what he was doing. But Qi Shao was overwhelmed with emotion. He felt insulted and wanted to fight. He attacked Shi without hesitation, not caring that he was facing the #1 player. He claimed it was just an empty title and that he would defeat him. Since Shi needed to make noise, he chose the most painful way to respond. Ji slapped him and said his actions were completely brainless. Qishao burst into tears. He screamed loudly in pain. It was a good scream. She expected the monster had heard it. Suddenly, a vine appeared. It wrapped around Qishao. It even covered his mouth as it dragged him away. His followers were stunned. They quickly ran after him to save him. She told Rui that it was the floor boss. Only by killing it could they open the path to the next floor. He told Rui to follow him, but she didn't need to rush. She was shocked by how fast he moved. She realized this was the effect of player attributes that she had mentioned. She imagined that if she gained more attributes, she could become like a superhero. She had always loved thriller and superhero movies. Mao watched from a distance and couldn't help but admire Shi. Now he understood that Shi had come here to hunt the floor boss. He began to think that if they could fight alongside him, their chances of clearing the dungeon would be very high. If he could become Shi's teammate, he would be willing to pay a price. Qishao's men shouted at the monster to release their boss. They were angry, and they kept yelling threats at it. One of them bravely jumped forward, but they were all struck in the chest one after another. This monster was a man-eating flower, level 8, an E+ rank floor boss. It had level 9 strength, level 7 agility, and level 5 stamina. Qishao saw its rows of sharp teeth and hoped someone would save him. He saw Shi approaching. He felt relieved since it was the world's #1 player, but he still wondered if Shi would help him after what he did. Shi rushed toward the monster. He swung his sword. The monster let out a loud cry of pain. Qishao felt relieved that Shi saved him, but at the same time, he felt even worse than dying. Shi told him not to just lie there. He said that since he made it onto the leaderboard, he should win properly. And when he reached the top 10, Shi would fight him fairly. Qishao was stunned. He thanked Shi and promised that he would make it into the top 10. Just like in Shi's past life, once the floor boss was defeated, the path to the next level opened. But at the same time, there were two choices. He could go up and face the mutated apartment creatures, or go down and face the terrifying apartment dead entities. Rui finally caught up with him. The system gave Shi 4 minutes to decide. She saw the two options and asked which one he would choose. Qishao felt worried since both choices sounded scary for girls. But deep inside, Rui was excited. Above meant monsters, below meant ghosts. She was fired up, but she tried to hide it so he wouldn't think she was crazy. Shi asked her which one she wanted. She found it hard to choose because she wanted both. Then someone appeared and asked Shi if he could join them. He introduced himself as Liu Mao, currently ranked 34, and said he could be useful. She was glad that he finally showed himself. Rank 34 was already high, especially with hundreds of thousands of players in the first batch. Qishao wasn't impressed. In his mind, rank 34 wasn't anything special. He planned to reach the top 10 himself. She knew that this man had been following him for a long time. He decided to expose him. In his past life, this was the person who saved him. Mao asked if Shi had noticed him long ago. Back then, after being betrayed, Shi thought he would die. But when Mao appeared, he was saved. At that time, Mao recognized his ability and said they needed a comrade like him. Mao told him to follow his commands, and they would survive the dungeon. Later, under Mao's lead, they struggled step by step, and eventually cleared that level. Although it was difficult at that time, Shi saw him as a savior, but even someone like him fell in the day of confinement. At that moment, Shi realized that no matter how strong someone was inside the game, they were still just toys to the evil gods. Mao felt uneasy when Shi didn't speak. He asked if there was any problem. Qishao still thought Shi wouldn't accept someone like Mao, but to his surprise, Shi agreed. He needed someone strong like Mao. Mao thanked him and offered a small token of respect, but Shi said it wasn't necessary, because in his past life, Mao had already repaid him. Now it was his turn to return the favor. Mao assumed that Shi was already strong and didn't need attribute cards, but he knew the woman would need them. Rui's eyes lit up. She imagined becoming like a superhuman, but she still looked at Shi for approval. Shi told her it was her choice whether to accept or not. That made her happy. He knew she needed the cards to grow stronger. She accepted them happily. Mao said he was grateful that she accepted. Deep down, it was because he met Shi by chance. If they had refused, it would have been hard for him to trust them. He planned to give Shi something in return once they got back to reality. Shi said they should move to the next floor. The boss there would be even stronger, so they couldn't waste time. Mao and Rui followed his lead. Qishao was determined not to lose to that guy with glasses. He was confident that if he asked to join, Shi would agree. He thought highly of himself, so he tried to express his interest in joining. But the moment he spoke, Shi told him to get lost. He didn't even get to finish his sentence. While going down the stairs, Mao asked Shi if he knew a lot about the dungeon. Shi said the structure of the dungeon was very simple. The place they started in was the 4th floor. The apartment had a total of 7 floors, so going up or down meant passing through 3 stages each. Since Shi understood the place so well, Mao asked if he knew the weakness of the final boss. Shi said that the 2 final bosses in the dungeon could not be killed by players. It was because making them meet was the only way to clear the dungeon. Mao was surprised. That meant they would have to split into 2 groups and go up and down separately to clear it. That was why Shi decided to deal with the bottom floor first. The plan was to attract the bottom floor boss, then bring it up in one push while heading to the top floor. It would chase them all the way up. That way, the bottom and top floor bosses would meet, and their risk would be minimized. Mao said it was just as expected of Shi to come up with such a strategy. He knew that for other players chasing the final boss, it would be impossible to clear the floor bosses again. Rui realized that Shi had originally planned to bring her into the dungeon to defeat 2 floor bosses alone and then lure a final boss to the middle floor. Shi admitted that it was true, but at the same time, her safety mattered to him. There was no way he would let her take that kind of risk, so he chose a safer plan instead. She felt touched. Then suddenly she sneezed. She felt cold even with stamina at level 4, strength at level 3, and agility at level 2. She explained that the temperature drop on the 2nd floor was twice as fast as the starting floor. It had already fallen below 0. They had no time to waste. They needed to find the floor boss as soon as possible. Eventually, they reached a room where there was a ferocious wolf-like monster, along with several zombie monsters. Mao was amazed that in such a huge maze, Shi could locate the boss so precisely. Shi said that it was a route he had memorized through life and death, so there was no way he could forget it. This made Mao wonder if Shi had been there before. It didn't make sense since the game had only just appeared in the world. They faced the D-rank boss, the Dog King Aras. It was level 10, with level 11 strength and stamina, and level 13 agility. Before charging in, Shi told them to protect themselves because wandering cold spirits would attack. Mao assured him that he would protect Rui. Shi knew Mao was strong, so with him guarding Rui, he could focus fully on the boss. He charged forward. His sword got caught between the monster's teeth. At the same time, the wandering cold spirits rushed in. Mao told Rui to stay behind him, and he struck the monsters away. He was the 9th generation successor of Bagua Hands, and because of that, he had easily cleared the novice dungeon. He was confident that these wandering cold spirits couldn't defeat him. He told Rui not to be afraid, and that he would deal with them quickly. But to his surprise, she started punching the monsters too. She was amazed by the player attributes, since they allowed her to fight as well. Mao realized that she was just like Shi, full of surprises. Boss Dog King. Aras roared loudly, and it tried to claw Shi. Shi saw an opening and slashed it all over. Mao noticed that Shi had many chances to kill the boss, but he kept avoiding its vital points. He wondered why he would do that. When they had to kill the floor boss to go down to the next floor, and if the temperature kept dropping like that, they would all die. He was curious what Shi was thinking. Shi stepped back when Boss Dog King Aras tried to claw him. Killing it would trigger the bottom floor boss's berserk state, and the rewards wouldn't increase, but defeating it while keeping it alive would trigger a hidden storyline. He just needed to control its health points precisely to 1%. It used Roar of the Wind, D rank. It gathered power to release a powerful blast of wind capable of tearing everything apart. Mao saw that the boss was about to unleash its ultimate move, so he screamed at Shi to find cover quickly. Boss Dog King Aras was wide open, teeth clashing against the barrier as the impact sent waves of light and force everywhere. Shi assured him not to worry about him, and that they should just go protect themselves and woo Rui. Mao was worried. Facing the boss's ultimate move head-on, even he would get hurt. He wondered what Shi was really trying to do, but he chose to believe in him. Since he decided to serve a master, he would stay loyal. He ran toward Rui and told her to follow him to the corner. Boss Dog King Aras' attack compressed into one point and formed a spinning energy orb. The energy around it burst outward, showing it was getting more destructive. It was so close. Rui was glad they got out. But she realized Shi was still there. She got worried and decided to go back for him. But Mao stopped her because Shi told him to. He told her to stay and trust him. She asked if he could really handle it alone. Eventually, it became quiet. She noticed how the wind outside had died down. She suggested taking a look. Mao said Shi hadn't called for them yet, so they should wait a bit longer. Right on time, Shi told them to come out. Rui felt relieved when she heard his voice. They hurried over to him. They were shocked at what they saw. Aras was at 1% health points. Rui said he was amazing, like a superhero from the movies. Mao admitted he was worried about his safety, but now he realized he had been ignorant. Shi now expected the hidden side mission to trigger. Mao realized that she didn't spare it just for no reason. It was all for the hidden side mission. Rui, on the other hand, was amazed by the hidden side mission. He told Aris that he could take it to see its master if it was willing to come. Aris was surprised. It let out a pitiful howl. The system notified Shi that Aris had sent him a team join request. He accepted it. Aris has joined the team. The hidden side mission has started. After recruiting both Aris and Little Posey into the team, the whole team will gain a special buff bonus. The final settlement rewards will increase by 50%. The system notified him that he had defeated Aris and obtained a D-rank attribute card, +2 stamina and +2 strength, usable when the attribute value reaches level 15. He also received a D-rank item card, Storage King, which was upgradable. It could store 5 cubic meters of items, but it could not store living things. He was glad to receive the D-rank attribute cards because he could use them. His strength was at level 11, while agility, stamina, and mana were all at level 10. They obtained a permanent buff Mental Guardian, which made them immune to any mental type abilities. He used the card, raising his strength to level 13 and stamina to level 12. As for the storage item, he knew it would be useful for storing things in the future. A barking sound caught his attention. It looked like a small husky puppy. He asked Aris if that was its true form. Rui found it cute and patted its head. She couldn't believe it was the same boss from earlier. She replied that if she didn't believe it, he could make it change back. That instantly froze her. Just remembering its huge and terrifying form made her turn pale. But she was just joking. He told her that this was its real form now. She asked if all the bosses on that level came from those cute little creatures. Mao didn't notice it earlier, but if that was true, then the one who created the dungeon was seriously messed up. She told them they were right. He warned them that deeper inside, they would see more of the dark side of the game. Now, Rui understood why he said the only purpose of playing the game was to destroy it. A path formed ahead of them. Suddenly they heard an animal sound. It was a soft meow. Rui wondered if there was really a cat down there. Aris started barking aggressively. She knew that wasn't a cat, but the floor boss of the next level. He told them to move. It was already getting impatient to see its old friend. Extreme cold apartment, -2nd floor. Current temperature, -10 degrees Celsius. The temperature in this stage drops by 2 degrees every minute. Some E-rank and D-rank cold spirits at level 9 roam around the area. Shi, Mao, and Rui watched them. Those monsters noticed them. Rui noticed that the number of monsters in this stage had increased. She said she was right. The closer they got to the final boss, the more monsters would appear, and the stronger they would become. The temperature kept dropping, and the monsters kept getting tougher and more numerous. The difficulty of this dungeon was far higher than a normal E-rank novice dungeon. The monsters charged at them. She looked calm. Mao moved first. He quickly stepped forward and pushed back the attacking monsters. Mao told Shi that he would handle these, while Shi rested and focused on the boss. Mao was level 8, with level 11 strength, level 4 stamina, level 9 agility, and level 1 mana. He had an exclusive buff called Family Heirloom Bagua Hands, which increased his strength and agility by 2 levels. Shi looked forward to players becoming stronger, just like Mao. Mao suddenly moved at high speed, leaving after images behind. He swung his hands in wide arcs, releasing waves of blue energy that cut through everything in front of him. He told Rui and Shi to follow behind him. Rui already knew he was strong, but seeing it in person still amazed her. Shi knew clearing the path wasn't a problem for Mao, but he asked if he knew where the floor boss was. Mao felt embarrassed. Suddenly, more monsters rushed toward them. Rui panicked and told him to look behind him. He was caught off guard. At that distance, he knew he would get hit. Suddenly, someone told him to get down. He recognized the voice. It was Shi. He crouched immediately, and the monsters behind him were struck. With just one swing of the sword, several monsters were already cut down. Rui said that even though she had seen it many times, it still felt unreal. Mao finally realized just how ridiculously strong Shi was. Shi told them it was time to move. He already knew where the boss was. When he opened the door to the room, 2 monsters were slammed backward. They saw the boss of this floor. It was the D-rank boss, Cat King Little Posey, level 11 with 100% health. Its strength was level 12, physique level 10, agility level 16, and it had a D-rank skill called Agility Hunter, which increased its agility by 3 levels. It let out a loud meow. Rui's eyes lit up when she saw the giant cat. She thought it was really cute. Mao couldn't believe it. The thing was massive, and she still called it cute. If she remembered correctly, the boss had extremely high agility because of its skill buff. Even his current self couldn't match it in speed. So to defeat it, they needed another method. He borrowed Aras for a moment. He wanted Aras to face its former partner. Its bark could apply a debuff. This was one of the hidden rules. He told them to deal with the cold spirit monsters as usual and leave the boss to him. Mao and Rui agreed. Although Rui wasn't very afraid of monsters, she still lacked real combat experience. She charged forward. Some monsters rushed at him. He kept moving. He told them not to get in his way. He cut them down, then he crouched. He gathered strength for a high jump. Aras was shocked by the sudden move. It made Boss Cat King Little Posy angry. Its attack had already begun, so she needed to stop it immediately. He threw Aras forward and told it to bark. Aras did exactly that. Boss Cat King Little Posy was affected. The current boss, Little Posy, sensed the voice of its companion Aras. Its fighting spirit dropped by 30%, agility dropped by 20%, and strength dropped by 20%. She saw his chance. He attacked, and landed a heavy blow. Little Posy's health dropped to 1%. Now the problem has been solved. It was time for the next step. He asked Little Posy if it wanted to go see its master with him and Aras. Little Posy stayed cautious. Aras barked again. Little Posy's expression softened. She received a notification. Little Posy had sent a team join request. He accepted it. The system notified him that he had recruited the negative second floor boss, Little Posy. He received rewards, D-rank attribute cards, 2 agility and 2 strength, usable when the attribute value is below level 15. He also received a D-rank item card called Incomplete Upgrade Core, which could upgrade weapons or items below D-rank, but only one ability. He was glad. He could finally upgrade one of the Blue Vein Sword's abilities. He used the attribute cards immediately. His strength rose to level 15, agility to level 12, stamina to level 12, and mana stayed at level 10. Little Posy joined the team, triggering the hidden mission. The whole team gained a special buff called Past Intimacy. It gave plus 20% defense, plus 20% strength, and plus 20% agility. There was also a 50% chance to awaken the bottom floor boss's past memories. The final settlement reward also increased by 50%. Rui was happy to see the special buff, and the extra 50% reward made it even better. A passage to the next floor appeared again. She invited them to move forward and face the final boss of the bottom floor head-on. This was the first boss that couldn't be killed the normal way. Rui felt the cold. The whole apartment was like an ice cave. Without cold-proof clothing, an ordinary person would suffer just by standing there. The Blue Vein Sword only had one skill for now, so she wondered what it would become after the upgrade. Upgrading a D-rank skill usually just boosts damage, but it was still better than nothing. He used the card. Light gathered around his weapon. Then the status of the Blue Vein Sword appeared. Its exclusive skill one was Sky-Splitting Slash. When the sword strikes, blood energy builds up in the blade. Once the blade nodes turn fully red, it can release a powerful sword chi that deals damage equal to the wielder's strength level. For every 10 levels the wielder gains, the sword will randomly obtain one new skill. This weapon is permanently bound to the user through soul imprint technology. She suddenly remembered that when he reached level 10, the Blue Vein Sword had already unlocked a second skill slot. The Incomplete Upgrade Core was successfully used. The Blue Vein Sword had been upgraded. This raised Sky-Splitting Slash to stage 2. Now, when the sword gathers enough blood energy and releases sword chi, it still deals damage equal to the wielder's strength level, but when activated, it also increases the wielder's strength by 2 levels. He still had one skill to draw, so he decided to check it. The system began the draw for exclusive skill 2. Different colored cards appeared in front of him. This was just an illusion only he could see. Gray, green, blue, purple, gold, and red represented E, D, C, B, A, and S rank skills. He called for the second exclusive skill of the Blue Vein Sword to appear. He chose the purple one. The draw was successful. He obtained a B+ rank skill, Surging Wind. When using this weapon, his agility increases by 5 levels. He was satisfied. A simple agility boost like this was extremely useful. Moving forward, they encountered more wandering cold spirits, now between level 10 and level 12, and the number of monsters on the bottom floor had increased. Rui was ready to fight as well. Mao and Rui both knew that if she made a move, those monsters would be wiped out instantly. At this point, they felt like they were just there to boost the head count. She told them he would leave the small fry to them since they also needed to level up. He advised them to use any attribute cards immediately if they got one. Then he headed straight for the boss. Rui asked if he was really going to face it alone. Mao noticed that she always fought the boss alone every time. She explained that his goal was just to lure it out. He told them to clear the cold spirits and raise their levels and attributes. They said he could count on them. After he left, Rui seemed to zone out for a moment. Mao got worried when a monster lunged at her, but she threw a punch. and killed it instantly. She got fired up and taunted the monsters to come at her. After all, her fists had been trained for over a decade. Rui was level 6 with level 5 strength, level 3 stamina, and level 5 agility. She could feel how much stronger she had become. She had trained all this time to protect Qing. With one punch, she blasted 2 monsters away. Mao was stunned. He already knew her personality didn't match her appearance, but now he realized she only showed her real self when she wasn't around. A monster attacked him from behind, but with a single swing of his arm, its upper body was gone. He decided to get serious too. Several monsters rushed toward him. They looked vicious, with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. Meanwhile, in a pile of skeletons, there stood the D-rank bottom floor final boss, the extreme cold yin woman at level 15, with full health. She had level 7 strength, level 18 stamina, level 12 agility, and level 16 mana. She possessed a D+ rank skill called Extreme Cold Ice Spike, which could release up to 6 ice spikes at once to attack her enemies. Her eyes were hollow. She stepped forward. Her long hair flowed behind her. Her dark, empty eyes and horn-like spikes made her look like a ghostly giant. Her massive figure loomed over everything, making the air feel even colder and more eerie. She chuckled when she saw a human approach. She knew that the cries of the 2 companions with him had a 50% chance to awaken her memories from when she was still alive. Even though the system didn't say it directly, he knew he only had one shot. She liked humans. Their blood was sweet. She attacked him. She quickly brought out the 2 companions and made them cry out. It made her pause, but the memory awakening failed. She chuckled and threw a punch. The 2 companions were stunned. She told them it wasn't their fault. He hadn't really expected it to work anyway. She chased after him, hungry for blood. She kept stalling for time so Rui and Mao could grow stronger. It wasn't hard for him. With the Blue Vein Sword's surging wind boost, dodging her attacks felt almost effortless. Eventually, Rui and Mao cleared all the cold spirits in the area. By now, Mao had reached level 11, with level 14 strength, level 8 stamina, level 11 agility, and level 3 mana. His exclusive buff, Family Heirloom Ultimate Art Bagua Hands, increased his strength and agility by 2 levels. Rui also noticed how much stronger those monsters had made them. She had reached level 9, with level 9 strength, level 7 stamina, level 10 agility, and level 1 mana. Suddenly, they heard a loud, heavy sound, like a hammer smashing the ground over and over, and it was getting closer. Rui wondered if she had already attracted the final boss. She quickly fixed herself up, knowing she would be back soon. Mao confirmed it. She really did act differently when she was around. Soon, she came into view. She felt relieved seeing him, but right behind him was the boss. They were shocked by how huge the monster was. She told them to retreat. They needed to head back the way they came and move toward the top floor. The final boss prepared its ice spikes. The 3 of them ran. Mao asked She if he should switch in and take the boss's hits so she could rest. She said there was no need. The target was already locked on him. Until she killed him, she wouldn't switch targets. Extreme Cold Yin Woman has locked onto player She. She launched an ice spike to claim his blood. She dodged it with ease. Mao said only she could stay calm while being hunted by something like that. Rui agreed. Only she could say terrifying things so casually. Some monsters blocked their path. Before the final boss dies, mobs in the dungeon will keep respawning, but Mao and Rui handled them. They cut them down easily. She noticed how much they had improved. On Basement 1, many players were still struggling. One player threw a solid punch. It was Qi Xiao. His followers praised him loudly. Then suddenly the ground began to shake. They saw She and the others rushing toward them. Qi Xiao recognized them. One of his followers was confused. Why were they running back when the final boss should be below? Then they saw it. The extreme cold yin woman was chasing them, and she was still at full health. They froze. The shaking wasn't an earthquake. It was her. Mao shouted at them to move or they would die. But Qi Xiao looked down on the boss. He didn't plan to run. She ran past him. Then, the monster stepped on him and kept chasing She. His followers told him to snap out of it, but he looked completely broken, like his soul had left his body. She explained that once the boss locks onto a target, it won't actively attack others. So even if they didn't move, they would still be safe. Mao admitted he had overthought it. They kept running. They passed through the middle floors. If they went higher, they would face the mutated apartment creatures. Rui asked if the bosses above had hidden rules like Little Posy and the others. She said no. Unlike the lower floors, the bosses on the upper floors were all things that the top floor final boss hated the most. The top floor boss is the bottom floor boss's father. As long as the two meet, the stage will be cleared. But both the top floor boss and the bottom floor boss were just poor people when they were alive. On the day the top floor boss became a father, his wife died during childbirth after meeting a quack doctor who failed to treat her properly. The daughter grew up without her mother. While her father worked outside, she only had cats and dogs to keep her company. Even so, she still grew up healthy. But while waiting for her father to come home, the daughter got into a car accident and died right in front of him. Then the bastards who created the game took their souls and trapped them inside the building forever. Only players who find the correct clearing method can let them meet again, even if it's just for a moment. That meeting clears the resentment in their souls. That's why letting the top floor boss meet the bottom floor boss is the key to clearing this stage. Rui realized just how miserable this level's boss was. Mao realized the one who made this game was an even bigger bastard. Then, we see players struggling against a huge monster. It was the D-rank boss Quack Doctor, Chainsaw Maniac, level 10. His strength was level 12, stamina level 9, agility level 10. A pure Quack Doctor, countless patients had died in his hands. The moment Mao saw it, he knew it was the Quack Doctor. Rui added that no normal doctor would ever look like that. She told everyone to get down. There was a clear opening for him to attack. She rushed forward and slashed the Quack Doctor. He killed the D-rank boss Quack Doctor, Chainsaw Maniac, and headed straight for the staircase. The other players were stunned. They were impressed, but also curious about who he was. The monster kept chasing after him. The players were shocked when they saw it appear again. They had no idea why it showed up there. They thought they were about to die and braced themselves. But the monster just ran past them. The monster shouted at Shi, telling him not to even think about escaping. The players realized someone had lured it up there. That made them understand something. They had already cleared the floor below. Now they finally saw how strong those players were. The next monster was the D-rank boss modified truck driver, level 11. It had level 17 strength, level 11 stamina, and level 11 agility. Its D-rank skill, illegal modification, boosted its strength even further. This guy would do violent upgrades, legal or not, just to earn more money. Rui and Mao were terrified, but Shi didn't hesitate. He charged straight in. The modified truck driver threw a punch. She leapt high into the air and chopped its body clean in half. He killed it. When the dust settled, they continued toward the staircase. A shadow slowly crept out from the rubble. It twisted and formed into a creature. The evil god had noticed Shi and the others. They cleared the dungeon faster than what the gods had designed. To it, they were anomalies. At the top floor stood a mutated freak, level 10, and it wasn't alone. Many monsters surrounded it. All of them suddenly turned in one direction. They heard the noise from the commotion. She told the two of them to rush forward because the door ahead led to the top floor boss. The monster let out a loud roar. She told them to keep moving and leave everything else to him. With a single slash, he cut down several monsters, and the two of them charged ahead. They pushed the door open. And the final boss was right there. They stepped into the top floor boss domain. It was the Extreme Cold Ringleader, level 15. It had level 16 strength, level 19 stamina, level 15 agility, and level 1 mana. It had a D-rank skill called Extreme Cold Breath, letting it unleash freezing air at will. Mao muttered that it looked nothing like the tragic man he had imagined. The door suddenly slammed shut. The system announced that it wouldn't open again until the players outside met the conditions. The two of them were left confused. The monster roared again. Rui realized they had to survive on their own until she opened the door. Mao knew that meant fighting to the death. A mission was triggered. She had to kill all mutated freaks on the floor within 5 minutes. Otherwise, the door to the boss room would stay shut. This was a late game rule, but somehow it appeared in the second dungeon. Something else felt off. She noticed something watching him. In his past life, that never existed. He wondered if it was the evil gods, observing everything. Because of his rebirth, Day of Confinement had already started to change. Even with all his memories, he knew he had to stay careful. He needed to kill every monster, and fast, 5 minutes. That was all he had. But for trash like this, it was more than enough. He moved. Every step was clean. Every strike was precise. And with each slash, another monster fell. Some monsters started avoiding him. She noticed how they ran away. Their behavior had clearly changed. A huge hand suddenly reached out toward him. He blocked it with his sword. It was the Extreme Cold Yin woman. Now, he understood. The real difficulty came from her. She was there to stop him. The monster stared at him, craving fresh blood. She read her next move. Ice crystals burst out from the ground. He could have been trapped, but there was no blood. She had already slipped behind her, and unleashed Sky-Splitting Slash, Stage 2. Power surged from his blade, and the strike cut her clean in half. She seemed almost amused that he got behind her. She landed safely on the ground. He knew he couldn't kill her, but disabling her was enough. Now he could focus on wiping out the other monsters and opening the door. There were 4 minutes and 15 seconds left, and the boss that Rui and Mao were facing couldn't even be killed. It was even stronger than the Yin woman. He just hoped they could hold on until he got there. On the other side of the door, the extreme cold ringleader threw a punch. The impact blasted someone across the room. Mao slammed into the door and coughed up blood. He couldn't keep up with its speed. He couldn't believe this was the kind of power she had been fighting alone. He always thought the gap between them wasn't that big, but now he understood the difference between rank 1 and rank 34. It wasn't a gap. It was a chasm. Rui stepped in and blocked the next attack to protect him. She told him to get up. They had promised to hold on until she arrived, but the moment she got distracted, the monster grabbed her. Mao stepped in and used Bagua hands, third form. He struck the monster's face and knocked it to the ground. Rui couldn't believe what she just saw. Mao clenched his fists. He refused to give up again, even if the gap between him and she was as wide as a chasm. He activated Bagua hands. Enraged state. His strength rose to level 4. His mana surged to level 10. In this state, he could use Bagua True Ki to launch attacks from a distance. The monster got back up and attacked again. Mao told it not to underestimate him. He struck it again, forcing it back. Then he unleashed a series of palm strikes. The monster was eventually slammed to the ground. He didn't expect the special force method his father taught him to actually work here. Back then, his father told him that Bagua hands wasn't just for close combat. As long as he understood its true meaning, he could strike enemies from a distance using palm force. But unfortunately, he still hadn't fully mastered it. Bagua hands in enraged state had 2 minutes and 13 seconds left. He knew that in this state, he could only last for 3 minutes. The monster stood up again and rushed toward him. He noticed its injuries had already healed. The boss couldn't be killed. Even if he couldn't damage it, stopping it was still possible. He released another powerful wave of force from his palms. The monster let out a loud groan, but to his surprise, it didn't get pushed back. It had already adapted to his attacks. In the next moment, the monster grabbed his head. It was bad. He had forgotten just how fast it was. At this point, there was only one option left: fight to the death. He threw out one last powerful palm strike, but the monster didn't move at all. His stamina was completely drained. His enraged state ended early. Things were looking bad. Continuous attacks had pushed his body to the limit. The monster raised its claw, ready to tear him apart. Mao knew this was the end. Then, a gunshot rang out. The bullet struck the monster's back, and it dropped to the ground. Rui was the one who fired. The weapon was originally a gift for Shi, but saving Mao came first. She knew Shi wouldn't mind. It was a 6-shot revolver, a gun-type weapon. It consumed the user's stamina and could reload automatically. It was rank E, and had the skill Precision, boosting strength by 3 levels and accuracy by 30%. Mao was stunned. He wondered if it came from a monster drop. He hadn't even noticed when Rui got it. The monster got back up and charged at Rui. She fired again, determined to hold on until she arrived. The monster raised its arms and blocked the shots. Mao told her not to fight head-on and to keep moving. The boss could adapt to any damage it received. In other words, it couldn't be killed. Rui was shocked hearing that. Then the monster grabbed her. She gritted her teeth and kept firing, trying to force it back, but it threw her away. She slammed into the wall. Mao rushed over to her. He said the monster was too strong, they couldn't beat it. The monster opened its mouth, preparing to unleash extreme cold breath. They both knew. This was the end. Rui felt a wave of regret. Mao asked if she had any regrets in life. The freezing breath was about to swallow them whole. She said she regretted not dying together with Shi. Then, suddenly, the door burst open. The freezing breath exploded across the room. They froze in shock. Shi had arrived. He told them something unexpected had happened. Rui thought she would never see him again. Mao said Shi had saved his life once more. Shi realized that if he had been even a second later, they would have died. He told them it was over. The clearing conditions had been met. The cold Yin woman still craved blood. But then the two monsters looked at each other, confused. The system announced that the hidden clearing condition had been fulfilled. It was a meeting that should never have been possible. The two recognized each other. The level clear storyline activated. Their forms began to change back to normal. The child called out to her father. The father called out to his daughter. They embraced. And just like that, the ending was reached. Their tragic memories flooded into the players' minds as the stage was cleared. Rui realized that just as she said, they were a tragic father and daughter pair. Mao burned with anger at the one pulling the strings behind everything. She felt something was off. He wondered if things would really go smoothly. The clearing steps were exactly the same as in his memory. But instead, it triggered a mission. The evil god complained that it happened too fast and wasn't satisfying at all. Then something appeared right in front of them. Rui asked what it was. It was a boss-level triggered mission. The god's scout had descended. Its purpose was to reset everything and make the gods satisfied. The god's scout told them they did not understand God's grace. It said their job was to make God happy and satisfied. It declared that the true grand performance had begun. It unleashed chains that struck everyone. The father and daughter turned back into monsters. The two of them groaned in pain. Rui and Mao couldn't believe they had turned back. Aris and little Posy ran toward them like they were worried. Rui tried to stop them, but the god's scout targeted them. Mao realized it wanted to turn them into monsters, and they couldn't let that happen. She moved in a flash and deflected the attack. Rui grew worried for him. The god's scout decided it was him who kept interfering with the performance. She had noticed this eye earlier. And he could tell it was different from the other monsters. There was no level prompt, no health bar, and it wasn't even hostile. In his past life, he had never seen anything like it. The god's scout decided to kill that anomaly. The cold yin woman and the cold ringleader charged at him. She threw Aris and little Posy toward Mao and Shui. He prepared to draw his sword. He unleashed a powerful slash and struck both monsters at the same time. He knew they wouldn't die, so he chose to cut them at the waist first to buy some time. The cold ringleader's health dropped to 82%, and the yin woman's to 79%. He was shocked to see their health actually going down. Another mission was triggered, entering Phase 2 of the extreme cold apartment boss battle. The objective was to behead the boss and extinguish their souls. This time, killing them would allow them to leave this place. Mao asked what that meant. The god scout answered that it meant exactly what it said. It wanted them to kill the monsters and erase their souls completely. After all, they were humans who had offered their souls to God. So the god scout assumed it wouldn't burden them mentally. It asked the anomaly player if that was correct. She grew annoyed at this thing. Rui called the god scout a bastard. Mao wasn't pleased either since those monsters were once human and had tragic fates, but the god scout pointed out that everything was for God's enjoyment. God was above the sky, watching them. It declared that failing to deliver a proper performance was blasphemy. Rui fired at it, shouting that she didn't care if their god was satisfied. She demanded it stop the mission. The god scout caught the bullet between two fingers and said her power wasn't enough to hurt it. Mao couldn't believe it caught a bullet with its bare hands. He also noticed it had no level prompt, so he wondered what level it even was. She was also surprised that it reached out and caught the bullet so easily. The two monsters charged at him. She stepped back to dodge their attack. He couldn't draw his sword because killing them now would mean cutting down their true souls. They were bosses now, but he felt they had done nothing wrong. They were just trying to pay the price to keep a small moment of happiness. Something dropped to the ground, and it shocked him. The cold ringleader was crying. He couldn't believe it. Then he heard their souls begging him to kill them and set them free. He listened to their voices. The daughter said they didn't want to keep living like this. So they begged him to end their pain. They couldn't control their bodies and attacked him. They kept begging him to free them. They didn't want to live like this, hurting others just to survive. They continued to beg. The god scout watched their suffering and declared that this was exactly the performance God wanted. It said God loved turning beauty into pain and hope into despair. Nothing brought God more joy than this kind of cruelty. She promised to help them. He moved fast, but before helping them, he wanted to take down the bastard playing with them first and punish it right in front of their eyes. The god scout was caught off guard. It reminded him that it was God's scout, but she didn't care. He knew it wasn't immortal, then he slashed it. The god scout couldn't believe it. She said that one day he would cut down their god too. But for now, he would send this scout to hell and make it wait. The god scout cried out for help from God. It was swallowed by an explosion. The god scout was furious that a mere human dared to kill him. It exploded. Rui was glad she had taken care of it. But he noticed something else. Another creature appeared, angered that its subordinate had been killed by a toy like she. Rui and Mao were stunned. The silhouette had long hair, a single eye, and long horns like a carabao. Behind its shadow was a massive demonic face with glowing red eyes and a twisted grin full of sharp teeth. They were horrified. Rui asked where it came from. Mao felt such pressure. that he could barely breathe. She asked if it planned to fight them too. The creature said that by God's rules, it could not attack him in this dungeon. But it warned that one day, it would take his head. The next time they met, it would make him perform for God. Until then, it told him to live well until he was worthy of meeting it. Then it left. Rui and Mao finally relaxed, their knees going weak. Rui said she almost suffocated, and Mao agreed that the creature was terrifying. She realized that in this life, the evil god's interference had already progressed further. He could feel that the creature carried the power of the evil gods. He suspected it might be the spokesperson they were searching for. It made him think that the evil god had already noticed something. But no matter what happened, he would keep moving toward the ending, where he killed them all. The father and daughter stopped moving. She looked at them. They thanked him for getting angry on their behalf. They asked him to send them off. He agreed and gripped his sword tightly. He prepared himself. He planned to end it with the least pain possible. He moved smoothly and cut off their heads at the same time. Their souls rose from their bodies. They thanked him, because now they were finally free. He said goodbye and wished them luck in their next life. Rui and Mao were stunned that it was finally over. They could tell it was the best ending for them. Little Posey and Aris began to glow brightly. Then they floated into the air. They gave one last meow and woof. Mao and Rui wished them happiness in their next life and said goodbye. With that, the extreme cold apartment dungeon was cleared. The dungeon was completely over. The environment began to collapse. The survival reward was a D-rank attribute activation card, given to all surviving players. Everything they obtained in the dungeon could be taken back to the real world. The place was freezing cold. Some players were trembling on the ground. In this cold, they couldn't even fight monsters and thought they would freeze to death. A monster roared loudly. Chi Xiao and his group were being chased by it. They ran as fast as they could. One of his men said that if this kept going, they would freeze to death. Another wondered how the world's #1 player could handle this so easily. Chi Xiao slipped and fell. His underlings panicked. The monster was almost on him. He knew he was doomed. He wouldn't even get the chance to become #1. Luckily, at that moment, the D-rank dungeon was cleared. A final gust of wind swept through the area. He felt relieved. The other players cheered. They were no longer freezing to death, and they all received activation cards again. They wondered what kind of monster had cleared the dungeon. The contribution leaderboard appeared. She had 82.3%, Mao had 10.6%, Rui had 7%, and the rest of the players only had 0.1%. The players felt the second and third place made sense, but the first place was unbelievable. The system then notified them that they had gained attributes in strength, agility, stamina, and mana, all at level 3. Rui was glad since it was a huge improvement. Mao realized that D-rank dungeon rewards were much better than novice dungeons. Rui's strength reached level 15, her agility level 13, and her mana level 4. She also had a 6-shot revolver with the skill Precision, which boosted strength by 3 levels and accuracy by 30%. Meanwhile, Mao had level 17 strength, level 14 agility, level 11 stamina, and level 6 mana. He also had an exclusive buff from his family heirloom, the Bagua hands, which added +2 levels to both strength and agility. These were only the rewards for surviving players, and there were still extra rewards to come. Since Rui had 7% contribution, she received an attribute card called Mage's Blessing, which increased her mana by 5 levels, along with Elf's Grace at level 3. Her world player contribution points reached 350. She complained that the reward wasn't useful for her. As for Mao, he received a weapon card called Grandmaster of Martial Arts Damaged Gloves at E rank, along with an attribute card called Martial Artist's Leg Practice, which increased agility by 3. His world player contribution points also reached 350. He equipped it and learned the weapon skill Grandmaster's Remnant Might, which gave a 3% chance to deal double damage in close combat. He didn't expect such an effect. If it triggered at the right moment, it could decide the outcome of a fight. Rui asked Shi what reward he received. He replied that it was just some points and a fragment card. He didn't tell them it was actually a fragment of an S-rank card. Shi had 82.3% contribution, and the reward he received was an S-rank card fragment. His world player contribution points reached 4,115. Rui couldn't believe that was all he got despite such a high contribution. Mao also found it strange and wondered what the system based its judgment on. She admitted it looked like a trash reward, but in reality, it made sense. In the entire day of confinement game, there were only 15 S-rank cards. Each one held overwhelming power and was extremely hard to obtain. To obtain freedom, one had to become world #1 during the novice dungeon. And for time reversal, in his past life, he had paid a terrible price. so getting a fragment of an S-rank card this early was already very lucky. He received an S-rank card fragment with unknown details. He needed 4 pieces to combine it into a complete S-rank card. Even though Day of Confinement was created by evil gods, its rules were fair. Winners were rewarded, and losers died. Whether players, the gods, or their followers, it was all the same. For now, he could only store it, but it still brought him one step closer to destroying those evil gods. The World Player Contribution Leaderboard was updated. She ranked first with 7,615 points. Han Sunhai followed with 1,310. Third was Liu Yan with 1,290, then Yun Yan with 1,280, Jin Yajun with 1,280, and Zhong Lun also with 1,280. Rui was happy to make the list. She ranked with 634 points after gaining 350. Mao noticed how close the rankings were with many tied scores. He was in 31st place with 740 points. She said that once people understood the rules, more experts would appear. That was why he shared the Novice Dungeon Strategy Guide before. Mao pointed out that this would only create more rivals for Shi, but Shi said his goal was to save the world. The more allies they had, the more hope there would be. This wasn't a fight for him alone. It was a battle for the survival of all humanity, and even the planet itself. For the dungeons ahead, Shi wanted them to fight for humanity, not just for personal gain. The two were stunned. Mao realized he had been narrow-minded and promised to remember Shi's words. Rui also felt motivated to fight for humanity's survival. Shi said he hoped to meet them again in the real world. They both answered, yes, at the hospital. Shi's mother noticed that he was awake. He checked on his friend beside him. Qing was still asleep. Day of Confinement pulled people's consciousness inside, so the things Qing carried were useless. His mother thought he was hungry, so she went to make him something to eat. He noticed that she had already accepted the situation. It seemed like Day of Confinement hadn't affected her much. The system notified him that he had taken first place in the World Player Contribution rankings. An extra reward was about to be issued. Whether those still inside the game or those who had already escaped, no one could surpass his score. So the system decided to grant the reward early. A dark card appeared. He examined it carefully and realized it was a class change card, the Shadow Mage Apprentice card. After using it, he could change into the class Dark Mage Apprentice and gain the skill Dark Orb, along with initial attribute boosts. The description said that rare Dark Elementalists begin as apprentices who accept the power of darkness. This class had shined in his past life. Back then, someone advanced into a Dark Archmage and destroyed an entire city alone. Even though that person was evil, no one could deny the power of the class once it matured. Classes weren't good or bad. They could be a weapon for evil or a shield for good. Each person could only have one class, and he had no use for it. He planned to give it to someone suitable. His mother came back with his favorite noodles. He smiled and thanked her. For now, he decided to set everything else aside. He wanted to enjoy this small moment of normal life. He told his mom the food was delicious. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. She opened it and saw Rui. Even she didn't expect her. She was panicking. Her parents had fallen into a coma, and she asked him why. He told her they were trapped inside Day of Confinement. She asked if there was a way to save them. He told her to calm down. Right now, there was no other way. There was only one freedom card. Aside from that S-rank card, there was no way to escape the game. If someone died in the game, they would fall into an eternal coma. Their body wouldn't die right away, but without someone to care for them, they would eventually die from starvation or organ failure. Tears filled her eyes as she asked if there was really no way. He looked at her and sighed. He had made his decision. He told her there was one way. He told her to use the class change card, grow stronger, and clear dungeon after dungeon. She was stunned. In simple terms, she had to become strong enough to hunt down the ones who created this twisted game. When that time came, everyone would finally wake up. Rui asked if she would become stronger just by using it. He said she would become stronger, but there's also a risk of losing one's mind. If she lacked the will and failed to resist its negative effects, she would lose herself and become a tool of the evil gods, used to slaughter her own people. She was shocked to hear that the class card had such a side effect. She explained that anything given by the evil gods often carried hidden malice. Class changes in Day of Confinement were like those in normal games, offering a chance to grow stronger. But in this game, they brought not only power, but also despair, because hidden inside every class change card was a fragment of the evil god's consciousness. To succeed, one had to mentally overcome it. Even that small fragment was enough to break an ordinary person's mind. If they failed, they would be taken over and turned into believers of the evil gods. As for why she wasn't affected, It was because his heart had already been hardened by the suffering of his past life. Since then, he had only one goal: to destroy them. Meanwhile, Rui realized that if she didn't become stronger, her parents would never wake up. And more people would fall into endless comas. She said she was willing to try. She reached out to take the card, but someone grabbed her hand. It was Shi's mother. She told her she was still young and shouldn't rush into something like this. If her parents knew, they would never agree. Rui thanked her and said that she was risking his life for others, so she wanted to do the same. After all, their love for their families was the same. Shi's mother was stunned. She could only wish her luck. Rui accepted the card and told Shi that if she ever turned into a monster, he should kill her without hesitation. The Dark Mage Apprentice class change began. She placed her trust in him. But deep down, he knew he could never kill her so easily. He remembered her from his past life. She once took a hit for him and told him to run. So this time, no matter what she became, he swore to bring her back whole. Black mist covered her body. The pain made her scream as her eyes rolled back. They watched as the dark mist kept pouring into her. Shi's mother asked what Rui was doing. He told his mom to go outside and not let anyone in unless he said so. The evil god's consciousness had begun invading Rui's spirit. To help her, he needed mental type skills, but he didn't have any. However, he knew something inside him did. A being with spiritual abilities. He called out to it, knowing it was there. Gabriel answered. It said it was natural, because it existed everywhere. She knew Gabriel could let him enter the mental world. Gabriel said it could, but warned that it could not enter Rui's mental world itself. It explained that if she failed to defeat what was invading her, he would die inside. She said he wouldn't die. In fact, he knew he would win. Gabriel seemed pleased with his confidence. It told him to go, but added that even though he had passed its trial before, if he couldn't handle something this trivial, then he wasn't worthy of their help. A light burst out from Shi's chest. It connected to Rui's chest. He refused to let the evil god take his comrade. Not now, not ever. He closed his eyes and was pulled inside. He entered Rui's mental world. Shadow figures surrounded the place. He looked around, wondering where Rui's soul was. Then he saw them. There were two Ruis. One held a gun and fired with precision. The other fought wildly with her fists. She couldn't understand why there were two of her. A shadow spoke. If she wanted its power, she had to prove herself. She had to survive the siege of the Dark Element apprentices. If she defeated them, it would acknowledge her. But the situation was getting worse. More enemies kept appearing, and she was surrounded. Still, she refused to give up. For her parents. The monsters raised their arms to the sky and launched black fireballs. They exploded. Rui knew that if she got hit, it would all be over. The one with the gun told the martial artist Rui to create an opening so she could fire. But there were just too many monsters. Suddenly, they heard someone shout that he would help her, and he cut through the monsters. Both Ruis were shocked. She told her that the Dark Element mages were just class change illusions, so he couldn't harm them. Rui had to rely on herself. But he could deal with the evil god's consciousness instead. Shi kept cutting down monsters. He was furious that these things dared to invade his comrade right in front of him. He poured all his anger into every strike. Rui was shocked to see him. She wondered how he even got there. She also noticed how strong he was. Those monsters stood no chance against him. Rui decided to leave those enemies to Shi and focused on the three mages forming a giant orb. The dark mages released the orb. Rui froze when she saw it coming. One Rui grabbed the other and pulled her away just in time. She realized the orb had a devouring effect. That's when she knew Shi wasn't lying. The class was truly powerful. She managed to step back. But then more orbs rained down on her. One Rui grabbed the other again while she kept firing. They were surprised the orb could attack like this. It was the difference between charged and instant casting. The Rui with the gun chose to fight back. They couldn't just keep dodging forever. She fired at the mages. 2 shots took away 15% of their health. She realized their defense was extremely high. The other Rui said that dealing damage at all was already good. She would handle the dodging, while Gun Rui focused on attacking. It sounded simple, but it wasn't. In this space, their physical limits were the same as in real life. If she ran out of stamina before killing those 3, they would lose. She moved carefully. Even reloading her gun drained stamina. She was determined to use every chance to secure victory. She noticed the monsters had grouped together instead of rushing him. Since they weren't attacking, He stepped forward. The monsters began to retreat. Then they fused into one. That was their way of escaping, but she wasn't about to let them go. But suddenly, a massive shadow monster blocked his path. She was caught off guard. There was a massive dark figure with glowing purple eyes and a wide mouth full of jagged teeth. It loomed over him like a nightmare, radiating pressure that felt suffocating. Just as he expected, this was its true form. Even a fragment of an evil god's consciousness shouldn't be this weak. The monster lashed out with dark vines. She cut them down with ease. He studied it closely. This thing was weak. He kept attacking. It was caught off guard by his speed. He tightened his grip on his sword. He didn't care if it was weak or strong. She kept slashing. Suddenly, a voice praised him for his clean strikes. It called him an intelligent life, not yet consumed by reason, and told him to keep going. He realized it wasn't really a voice. It felt more like radio waves, something not from Earth's language system, being translated directly into his mind. It told him that S-rank special cards were the chance for resistance they had created. They had already been devoured by the evil gods, so this was their final power. It warned him not to be misled by the evil gods, or become like them. Beings who helped destroy their own civilization. She understood. The S-rank cards were a last hope left behind by those who had already been consumed. It made him realize they were likely intelligent beings from other civilizations that had fallen to the evil gods. He had always believed S-rank cards held a power even the gods couldn't control, created for their twisted amusement. But now, it seemed different. These cards were resistance, and he would claim that power. He declared that this planet would become the grave of the evil gods who caused all this suffering. Then he felt it. The evil god's presence had vanished. It seemed he could no longer stay in the mental world either. After all, he was just an intruder in Rui's mind. Back to these two. The two Ruis now faced the mages. He could tell she was ready to handle the rest on her own. Rui asked if he was leaving. The other Rui couldn't believe he had already cleared all those black, mud-like creatures. She told her to focus on completing the class change. He said they would meet again in reality. Rui was caught off guard when he said, "they." The secret was slipping, but she stayed calm and acted like nothing was wrong. The mage continued forming a massive orb. Rui chose to focus. If she wanted to save her parents, she had to become a dark mage apprentice first. The two Ruis charged at the mage. She watched her take her first step on the path of fighting the evil gods and becoming his most trusted ally, as she made it home. His mother had been worried sick, even though she knew he had become more reliable. She also knew that everything happening now was far beyond common sense. Many people had suddenly fallen into deep comas, surviving only on nutrient solutions. Some ordinary people had turned violent and were attacking others in the streets. She also remembered a strange dream. Inside it were puppet-like monsters chasing and killing people. With everything going on, she just hoped she, Rui, and Qing were all safe. Then, she finally saw him return. She checked on Rui and saw that her condition was stabilizing. He knew she would succeed soon. The black mist around her was slowly being contained. He smiled, knowing that meant success. The system confirmed it with a notification. She woke up as a Dark Mage Apprentice, an A-rank class, with the skill Dark Orb and the trait Dark Element Affinity. She was surprised that she had successfully changed classes. She sincerely thanked him for helping her in her dream, but she chose to act like it was just a dream, not wanting him to discover her secret. Suddenly, Qing woke up shouting. She asked what was wrong. Qing was shocked to see him. Then he begged She to send him back to the dungeon immediately. She told him to calm down. He explained that once a dungeon was cleared, it disappeared completely. There was no going back. Tears formed in Qing's eyes as he asked what would happen to the people who died inside. Could they still be saved? This scene felt familiar. It was the same as in Shi's past life during Qing's second dungeon. There, Qing had met someone who sacrificed herself to save him. She had fallen from a great height into flames below. She didn't know the full details, only what Qing had told him. He couldn't judge what advice to give. Saying the wrong thing might push Qing toward death. He even thought about bringing Qing into his own dungeon to help him avoid this pain, but he knew that wouldn't be right for him. Qing broke down, apologizing to the woman and blaming himself. Ji understood that he couldn't make choices for him, and in this life, he was determined to defeat the evil gods and free everyone from this suffering. For now, he decided to give him some good news first. He told him that the person wasn't dead in reality yet. Qing's eyes lit up when he heard that. She showed him the news about people falling into deep comas. Qing didn't understand what that had to do with Xiao. Rui explained that dying in the game didn't mean dying in real life. Xiao had only fallen into a coma. Now Qing finally understood. Zhao was still alive, just unconscious. Rui added that her parents were also in a coma, and she had told her that if she wanted to wake them up, they had to clear day of confinement and kill the mastermind behind it. She asked Qing to join them and fight those bastards together. Qing agreed without hesitation. The mood shifted. Everyone was fired up to protect the people they cared about. In the past, because of a lack of information, people fell into despair after returning to reality. But now, they had hope. She told Qing that the most urgent task now was to get stronger. After all, he had already fallen far behind. Qing was only level 4, with level 5 strength and level 4 in stamina, agility, and mana. Anyone who survived the first 2 dungeons would already reach level 4 in base attributes. In other words, aside from a strength card, Qing had mostly been carried. Qing then asked Rui about her level. She said it wasn't that high, and that she had helped her level up. He was shocked to find out she was already level 9, with a class and weapon. That made him wonder how strong she had become, and what he saw next shocked him even more. It was far beyond what he expected. Qing immediately begged Shi to carry him too. He said he wanted to protect the world he loved. Even if the enemy was powerful, he still wanted to fight until the end. What he didn't realize was that this was exactly what Shi wanted too. Shai was glad that, for now, they all shared the same goal. He told them they first needed to understand their enemy. He called them evil gods. The two were shaken when they heard that. But he explained that, for now, the evil gods only existed inside the day of confinement game and couldn't appear in reality. It was one of the rules they followed. But once the game decided a winner, they would descend upon Earth and devour the entire planet. They were horrified to learn that their enemies were cosmic-level beings. Qing admitted that this might be too difficult. She asked him if he wanted to give up. Rui thought of her parents. Qing remembered Xiao falling into the flames, and both of them answered. They wouldn't give up. Hearing that, Shi continued. He told them where their chance of victory lay. The key was the 15S rank special cards. Each one held immense power. If they could gather them all, they would have a chance to fight back against the evil gods. Rui asked if all they had to do was help him find those cards. Qing said the goal was clear. Rui then asked how many dungeons existed in Day of Confinement, and which ones held S-rank cards. She explained that the evil gods had merged the dungeons with human society. Because of that, there were at least thousands of dungeons. They were stunned. Qing couldn't believe it, especially since she had written a full strategy guide for the novice dungeons. She said that was only possible because there were just 19 types of novice dungeons, so documenting them wasn't too hard. Even though S-rank cards were rare, he knew of one dungeon that contained one. Our boy thought of the woman who would betray humanity. She told Qing to go home and rest. In 3 days, he would take him into the next dungeon. At that moment, a screen appeared, showing the countdown for the next Day of Confinement game. Rui had just changed her class, and now she understood. She had to rely on herself to grow stronger. While she needed to meet a certain woman to enter that dungeon, the S-rank card, Freedom, he possessed, allowed him to enter and exit dungeons at will. The only requirement was having a locked coordinate. He met the woman who once introduced herself as his ex-girlfriend. She didn't expect him to seek her out. The last time they met, he rejected her, and she thought their connection had ended. She told her to skip the small talk. He knew she had already gone through 2 dungeons in Day of Confinement. She admitted it. Thanks to luck, she had managed to survive both times. In his past life, he had met her like this too. Back then, she had already become a servant of the evil gods. She sold her soul to them. But that wasn't true survival. She was immune to spiritual influence, so he could clearly see the evil god aura around her, something normal people couldn't detect. That meant inside the dungeon, she had helped the evil gods wipe out every human there. Only then did they grant her that aura and spare her life. Just one more dungeon, and she would become a complete servant of the evil gods. She asked him why he came to see her. With just the 2 of them alone, she hinted at something more. She believed that if she could tie him to her, she could control him. In her mind, she planned to let her god devour the world's #1 player, just so she could survive. She was tired of this cruel game. She even thought of using his life as her way out, but she simply said he would join her next dungeon. She was surprised. She hadn't even told him yet, and he offered on his own. She told her that if she agreed, they should shake hands so he could leave a mark on her. He was using the ability granted by the Freedom card. She happily took his hand. Then she teased him, hinting she was open to more. She pulled away and told her they would meet again in the dungeon. Then he left. She was annoyed. No man had ever rejected her so openly. She swore she would make him regret it. The day came for the players to be transported into the game. She reminded Qing of the rules. Qing said he remembered everything. She activated the second use of freedom. The system confirmed it had locked onto the target, and Jian's dungeon. It asked if he wanted to enter. She confirmed. The dungeon was called Doomsday Paradise. Freedom activates. She and Qing enter the C-rank dungeon, Doomsday Paradise. Their bodies start to pixelate. Collecting all S cards is Ji's true goal, so he must enter the dungeons he never cleared in his past life. From this moment on, his path to becoming stronger will be different. They appear inside the Doomsday Paradise first stage preparation room. Qing is surprised to see a preparation room at all. She suspects it is tied to the dungeon's rules. He has only seen shared clearing guides for this dungeon. For now, he observes his surroundings and analyzes the situation to increase his chances of success. A system window pops up, welcoming him to Doomsday Paradise. Before the game begins, everyone has the right to form a team. The system tells him to click an avatar and send an invitation. If the other party accepts, they become teammates. The team limit is 3 people. Qing didn't expect so many people inside the dungeon. He asks Shi who they should pick as a teammate, and Jian works for the evil gods. Putting her on any team would harm others. Rather than letting her hurt strangers, Shi decides it's better if she stays close to him. He also has the ability to suppress her. It's the perfect chance to keep an eye on her. Meanwhile, Jian wonders if she should team up with him first. Then again, joining another team and helping her god harvest lives also sounds tempting. Right then she receives an invitation from Xi and Qing. She is amused by how impatient they are. She says that being with him, the world's #1, might make things much easier, so she accepts. The moment she does, she is teleported to them. Qing is surprised to see her. She pretends to be scared and runs toward him for a hug, but Shi sidesteps her easily. Not today. Shi calmly tells Qing to open the door since their team is now full. Qing recognizes her, but he trusts that Shi has his reasons. So he decides to believe in him. Jian gets annoyed at him. She believes there will come a time when he will beg her sooner or later. She is confident because her god tells her all the hidden rules in advance. She plans to play a few tricks and doom him forever. They open the door. An eerie forest waits outside. This dungeon is Doomsday Paradise Part 1, Zombies in the Woods. The rule states that the top 30 teams with the highest points can enter the next stage. The leaderboard is open, and Shi's team is ranked number 007. Qing notices how unclear the rules are. It doesn't even explain how to earn points. Jian says, it's simple. Since there are zombies in the woods, the more zombies they kill, the more points they get. Qing asks Shi if there are really zombies. Shi calmly tells him to move since this stage isn't that difficult anyway. They keep walking. Then they meet the zombies. Qing panics the moment he sees them. Yes, they are very real. The zombies hear them and rush toward them. Qing starts to panic as they charge in, but Shi simply pulls out his sword. Shi makes his move. He cuts down the zombies in front of him. Qing is amazed. In real life, it's impossible to feel someone's power this clearly. But seeing Shi fight, only one thought comes to mind. Like a god walking on Earth. Jian realizes that the world's #1 is truly absurdly strong. Now she understands why her god wants him so badly. Qing keeps slicing through the zombies. To get clues for the S card, taking first place in every stage is required. Xi knows there are several experts who have reached this stage. His problem is how to beat all of them and claim the highest score. Soon, all the basic zombies in the area are wiped out, and he gains 50 points. Qing thinks they have already secured first place. Jian even praises him, but Shi knows it won't be that easy. Many players can handle basic zombies. The rankings show Team 007 in first place, followed by Team 001, then Team 009. All of them have 50 points. Team 0018 sits in 4th place with 49 points. The gap is almost nothing. They didn't expect so many teams to have the same score. Qing realizes that if they slow down even a little, they will be overtaken. That means they need to find more zombies fast. But Shi already knows the hidden rule of this dungeon. The real way to create a huge point gap is by defeating the zombie king at the center of the forest. If he wants the highest score, then that is his true target. Qing says the feeling of not knowing where the zombies will appear is both tense and exciting. Suddenly, a zombie jumps on him. He falls to the ground as the monster pins him down. At the same time, the second wave of basic zombies appears. Shi asks if he can handle it. Qing says yes. He doesn't want to be a burden. He headbutts the zombie. Shi tells them not to move recklessly. Jian says she's too scared to move. Shi ignores that and charges forward, while Qing struggles with the zombie on top of him. Zhurian gets annoyed again that she ignores her. Since he looks down on her, she decides to cause trouble. She secretly uses the god's power to attract other players who have also been corrupted by the evil gods. Ching realizes these zombies are stronger than he expected. He refuses to lose, especially since he still wants to save Xiao. He grabs the zombie and chokes it, until it disappears. He feels proud of himself. She also acknowledges that he did well. She has already finished his side too. Ching feels like his effort doesn't even compare. Then suddenly, someone arrives, clapping. The man says killing so many zombies so quickly is impressive. She immediately senses it. The three newcomers all carry an evil god aura, just like Xian. That means they helped the evil gods kill other players and were rewarded with that aura to extend their miserable lives. Xian notices them too, but she looks down on them. They don't have a god directly parasitizing them, so in her eyes they are inferior. She assumes they received the hidden rules she spread. That means the next moment will be life and death combat. She can also feel it. The god is looking forward to the slaughter. Ching asks if they are players too. He even suggests forming a team so they can help each other. They think he's naive. Then the hidden rule appears. Killing other players lets you take their points. The man who was clapping smiles. To him, this is a gift from God. Taking points from others is the fastest way to win. He tells Ching that teaming up sounds great. Ching happily reaches out his hand. But in the next second, the man points a sword at his neck. Ching realizes he can't dodge it. He braces himself for the strike, but a sword suddenly blocks it. The man is shocked by how fast it was. Seeing their killing intent, she asks if they really thought this through. But the man ignores him and tells his teammates to finish them off. She calmly deflects their attacks with precise movements. The man refuses to back down. He wants their points no matter what. His male teammate opens fire with a machine gun, while the female teammate casts spells as a mage. At that moment, the blue vein sword's skill fully charges. Ji makes his move. He unleashes a single strike. They think they can block it, but they are wrong. The blade cuts through all of them at once. The man watches in horror as his sword shatters. Then his body splits in half. The three of them vanish instantly. Ching is confused. He asks why they even tried to kill them. She explains it plainly. The man already said it. Points. One of the hidden rules allows a team to take another team's points by killing them. He then turns to Jian and asks if that's correct. She pretends it's her first time hearing about it. Very convincing, if you ignore everything else. She looks at her coldly and gives a warning. If she ever puts his friend in danger again, he will kill her first. He can already see her starting to show her true colors. She doesn't believe he can kill her, and she has already spread the hidden rule to more teams. Any player who accepted the evil god's aura receives it. The real slaughter has begun. She is sure she won't make it out alive. The system announces that Team 007, she, Ching, and Jian, now has 163 points and is ranked first. They inherited the points from the team she just killed. But even in first place, they can't relax. She notices that more players are being infected with the evil god aura. He expects things to get even more troublesome. Ching quietly tells him something feels off about Jian. He suggests leaving her behind and moving on alone. She shakes his head. It's not the right time. Letting her go now would only cause more damage. There are still many normal players around. She would get them killed. Ching agrees. For now, they have to keep her close. More zombies start approaching. Ching panics a little. She tells him to keep up if he wants to grow stronger. This is the perfect chance. They charge forward together. Ching is determined. He wants to become as strong as she, to save Xiao and the world. After that wave, Ching is completely exhausted. She reaches level 17 with 26% progress, while Ching reaches level 7 with 69% progress. She tosses several attribute cards to him. Ching has levels, but his stats are lacking. He needs to catch up. Ching uses the cards. His fatigue disappears instantly. His strength rises to level 3, stamina to level 2, and agility to level 1. Not bad for a quick boost. Players have natural affinity for certain attributes. The higher the affinity, the stronger the bonus from attribute cards. Rui has the highest agility affinity. Mao excels in strength. Ching's strongest trait is stamina. If Ching develops properly, he can become a powerful shield-type player. In future dungeons, he will be indispensable. They continue deeper into the forest. Jian watches them and assumes they are starting to tire out. Killing monsters alone won't earn points fast enough. For top-ranking teams, taking points from others is unavoidable. She expects everyone to start slaughtering each other. This is exactly the kind of chaos her god wants. Meanwhile, Team 001, Zheng Feng, Luo Yan, and Feng Di. finishes off another team. If they keep going, they will take first place. They know Team 007 is close behind, so they can't afford to relax. Luo Yan suggests hunting them down. If they take their points, no one will catch up. But Li Zhengfeng tells them to wait. Let the fish grow a little fatter first. He smirks. It'll be more satisfying that way. After all, he ranks 23rd on the world contribution leaderboard. Meanwhile, Shi slashed down an advanced zombie. Qing was already gasping for air. The moment advanced zombies appeared, it meant they were close to the deepest part of the miasma-dense forest. Qing agreed. Even the atmosphere felt heavy, like a boss was about to show up. The miasma concentration there was terrifyingly high. Then Qing suddenly felt it, a debuff creeping into his body. He started to panic. But Shi calmly said that compared to that, something even more troublesome was coming. Shi was expecting the boss. And right on cue, it appeared. A level 18 Zombie King. It had two skills, Miasma Domain and Zombie King Poison Gas. Qing froze the moment he saw it. Its face slowly came into view. Pale, corpse-like skin. Hollow features. Glowing red eyes locked straight ahead. And a twisted skeletal grin that made it look even more terrifying. Then it charged. But Qing wasn't useless. He slammed his head straight into its jaw. The impact pushed the Zombie King back. Qing felt proud of himself for that one. Shi noticed it immediately. Qing's stamina affinity was abnormal. If he could develop that skill further, becoming the strongest divine shield wasn't impossible. The Zombie King roared and rushed at them again. Qing panicked. It was coming back. Shi stepped in and parried the attack with his sword. He told Qing to move aside. This wasn't something he could handle. Shi would take over. But the Zombie King didn't stop. It kept attacking relentlessly. Shi blocked each strike, but he quickly realized something. The creature's body was incredibly tough. Normal slashes wouldn't break through. He needed another approach. The Zombie King suddenly inhaled deeply. Shi's eyes sharpened. A skill was coming. The next second it exhaled, releasing a stream of green liquid. Shi sidestepped just in time. The attack splashed onto a nearby tree, instantly corroding it. This wasn't an enemy he could rush. He had to find its weakness. But while Shi focused on the fight, someone else was watching. Hidden in the shadows, Team 001. Zhengfeng told his team to stay put. They would wait for Shi to finish the boss, then ambush them and steal everything, the rewards, the points, all of it. The Zombie King rushed straight at them. Shi didn't hesitate. Every creature has a weak point, and most of the time, it's the neck. So he aimed for it. His blade slammed into the Zombie King's neck, and nothing happened. That's when he realized this thing's weak point wasn't where it should be. The Zombie King instantly swung back, claws slicing toward him. From the side, Jian watched with a devilish grin. In her mind, this was obvious. Treat monsters here like normal enemies, and you pay for it. But Shi stayed calm. With the boost from surging wind, he was confident. Speed alone could overwhelm it. He shifted and slashed across its chest, but the monster countered immediately. No damage, no hesitation, just pure retaliation. Shi's eyes narrowed. Hitting it didn't work. Dodging forever wouldn't work either. So where was the real weak point? Then it clicked. Qing. Earlier, Qing had managed to hurt it, not with a blade, but by smashing into it. Right then, the Zombie King inhaled deeply. Shi locked onto that movement. That had to be it. Qing saw it too. He panicked and shouted for Shi to dodge before the poison came out, but Shi didn't move. Instead, he said calmly, "This next strike would decide everything." And then, he charged straight in. The Zombie King froze for a split second. It didn't expect that. Shi's attack landed clean. The monster let out a piercing scream. Its HP dropped to 72%. And just like that, Shi confirmed it. Now he understood why Qing's reckless charge worked earlier. That inhaling moment, that was the opening. Jian clenched her teeth as she watched. He figured it out way too fast. Then a voice whispered inside her mind. The god. It called Shi interesting. Said it wanted to devour his soul. It told her to wait. When the moment came, it would descend into her body and take him. She quietly agreed. But inside, she was already irritated. Every time that thing possessed her, it left her drained, sore, barely able to move for days. And now, because of Shi, she'd have to go through it again. Zhengfeng, on the other hand, was impressed. He could tell. This guy wasn't normal. Strong, calm, sharp instincts. He started wondering where Shi ranked on the leaderboard, and more importantly, when he'd get to fight him. The Zombie King roared again, furious now. But she just looked at it like it was already dead. He told it plainly, its weakness had been exposed. There was no point struggling anymore. Then he kept attacking. Again, and again, and again. Each strike hit the same spot, relentless, precise, until its health dropped all the way down to 9%. The monster dropped to the ground, landing hard on its backside. She stepped forward. This was it, the final blow. But right as he moved, another team rushed in. Team 001. She caught the movement instantly. They weren't here to help. They were here to steal. Before he could react, Zheng Feng charged in and slammed into him, knocking him off balance. And in that single opening, the other two members moved in and cut off the zombie king's head. Clean, fast, shameless. The system notification echoed. The zombie king had been killed by Team 001. 100 points awarded. She froze for a split second. Qing immediately snapped, cursing them for stealing the kill. Meanwhile, Jian just watched, almost excited. She could already smell what was coming next. Xi's eyes locked onto one person, Li Zhengfeng. So that's who had been hiding in the shadows this whole time. Zhengfeng raised a brow, clearly amused that Xi recognized him. He even bragged. Seems like his name carries weight. But Xi didn't hold back. Yeah, he's famous. Famous for being disgusting. He already knew everything about him, helping evil gods wipe out players inside dungeons, robbing people of their cards, even kidnapping children in the real world for ransom. Zhengfeng didn't deny it. He just smiled wider, then said he was in a bad mood and needed to kill something to calm down. Level 15. Weapon, giant heavy sword, level 6. Strength level 3. Stamina and agility at level 1. Not weak, not at all. Beside him stood Luo Yan, masked, level 13. Weapon, bloodthirsty dagger, level 4. Balanced stats, both strength and agility at level 1. And the last one, Feng Di, level 12. Steel brass knuckles, level 3. A full squad built for close combat. Qing could feel it. These guys weren't pushovers. Even Ji Yan suggested backing off, but Zhengfeng had no intention of letting them leave. To him, killing them and taking their points was the real reward. Then Yan spoke up. The zombie king dropped something. A weapon card. C rank, shield type, level 10, corpse. Poison reflector shield, strength +3, stamina +5, agility +1, and a skill, corpse poison spray, corrosive effect. Cooldown, 5 minutes. A perfect item for stamina type players. High value, high demand. Qing felt the sting immediately. That reward should have been theirs. But Xi didn't look bothered. He simply said, they could take it back. His eyes briefly landed on Qing. That shield fit him perfectly. Zhengfeng noticed that look. He grinned. So they chose to fight. He mocked them. Just the three of them, that's all. Then told them to hurry up and die. Xi didn't bother replying. Talking was pointless. He moved first. Blood chi surged through his body. The blue vein sword skill activated. Sky-splitting slash, stage 2. Full charge. Strength boosted by 2 levels, and then he swung. A massive slash tore through the air. Zhengfeng stepped forward to block it. His blade clashed against the attack and split it apart, but the moment he did, Xi was already there, closing the distance, right in front of him. In Xi's mind, this was already over. The next strike was judgment. Alright, that's it for today's story. If you want the weekly chapter updates for this series, those will now be uploaded on my second channel, Manhwa Updater. So if you don't want to miss what happens next, make sure to check it out and join the update gang. Thanks for watching, stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.